All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Sunday Futures Show. We've got futures that are open and they are green, more green than we've seen on futures really in the past couple months. So we've got some pretty hot futures that we're going to talk about. We got Robinhood overnight markets opening up in the next 9 minutes. We have oil prices that are down about 4% right now as futures open. So we got to talk about oil futures and what that means. And we've got big tech earnings coming up this week. If you saw the thumbnail on this YouTube video, as we get started on the show, it is all the tech earnings that we have this week. So really what today's episode is going to be about is probably 10 minutes about talking about the macro and some of the stuff that I'm observing right now going into this final week of August. Yeah, it's literally the final week of October trading. And then I want to talk about earnings. So I'll talk about all the companies that have earnings this week. Obviously, we can't go through every single company, but there's probably 7 to 8 of them that I think are going to define what the week looks like before we get into the election. And then we've got the election on November 5th. But it'll be a big week for tech earnings, big week for the markets as we end out the last week of October. And yes, it is my birthday. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I really appreciate it. I got a ton of messages from all of you guys today on Twitter, YouTube. So thank you very much. It is indeed my birthday, October 27th, turning 27. So golden birthday. It is here. It's done. We can finally stop talking about it. I feel like this birthday has been this big event on this channel because for some reason it became an inside joke for everyone to say happy birthday in the chat, even though it was like July 5th and you have new subscribers like, is this his birthday? Should we wish him happy birthday? And I'm just like, no, it's like, I don't know why they're saying it's my birthday. But yes, now it is officially my birthday. I hope after today, this whole happy birthday thing in the chat is done with. I have a strange feeling that it's not going to be done with. But at least we actually got the birthday done. So that's it. It is my birthday. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Covered Carl, John, Michael, Don, Katie, Lena, Chamu. I can't say thank you to every single individual person because there's just so many of you, but thank you to everyone saying happy birthday. It means the absolute world to me. And we're here. It's done. We're now 27 years old. Sean, Michelle, Ray, Derek. I'm going to try to get through everybody. Sway, thank you for the super chat. Happy birthday, Amid. Best finance content on YouTube, hands down. Appreciate all you do. Sway, thank you for being here. Thank you for the $9.99 super chat. I don't know if you're familiar with that famous interview where Kanye says, "You don't got the answer, Sway." Well, you have one of the best super chats, Sway. So thank you for that. Appreciate that. Pox, Zen, Silly Blunt, Bruning, I'm Beneficial, Bay Ray, Deanon, Melanie. Thank you, Melanie. I found out you were a teacher last week. You said what you do for a living. You're a teacher. I love that. I got a very soft spot in my heart for teachers because my mom, my sister, and both my grandmas were teachers. So I appreciate that. Toto, thank you for being here. Emery, thank you, everybody, for being here today. 27. It happened, folks. We are officially 27. Put in the chat if you're younger than 27, because I think there's probably like maybe 5% of you guys that are younger than 27. Most of my audience demographic is like 30 to 50. So I'm pretty sure pretty much everyone is above 27. I mean, there's probably a few of you that are below, but yeah, getting up there in age, which hopefully should bring some more wisdom and more life experience and all that good stuff. Not just a kid talking on the internet, even though quite frankly, I'm just a kid talking on the internet, but hopefully we're getting some more energy as we learn about life and, can bring a bit more momentum to the analysis just as we get older and smarter. We got Ali, who's 22, Sewell, who's 25, Arnaval, who's 21, Thomas, 18, Jake, who's 20. Yeah, so we got a few of you guys who are below. Bay Ray says he's 12. He's actually 23. Some of you guys are 28. Yeah, so pretty much same age as me. Most of you guys are above 27, though. Most of you guys are above 27. Yeah, we got Jed, who's 43, Patrick, 63, Tankstead, 56, Joe Lips, 42. Most of you guys are above 27. So it's good. I'm now getting into the stage where I can relate with most of you as well as I get older, which is a good thing. So yeah, and before we get started, what did I do for my birthday? Nothing too crazy. My uncle actually bought a new house a couple months ago, and today there was like a puja, which just means a prayer in Hindi for that house. So I was there for like 4 or 5 hours in the morning, came back. I actually was working. You guys know I have a small consulting firm for debate and public speaking, and my kids, I haven't been able to coach them for the past 3 weeks because I was in India. So they have a big tournament coming up. So I spent 2 hours working with them. And then I got on this live stream. So really, it's been just one of those birthdays where nothing too crazy is happening. and excited to be here live and talk about the global capital equity markets because we have a lot to talk about. But yeah, I just can't say how grateful I am. Thank you guys so much for the happy birthday wishes. You know, birthdays are something that I think has always been special. The older I get, the less I care about having some like magnificent celebration or anything. Like I just don't care about that anymore. But the way my mom raised me is always to like feel special on your birthday, and I want to. That's why whenever it's someone's birthday, I always try to like, at least say happy birthday, or just it's kind of one of those things where you want people to feel special on their day of birth, because ironically, your birthday just means you're getting closer to death. I mean, it's there's a George Lopez, the George Lopez show. I remember in like 2010, he had one of these lines during this show where he was like, "Why are you wishing me happy birthday? It just means I'm closer to death." And I remember that stuck with me forever. And I remember I asked my mom one day, I was like, "Why are we celebrating birthdays? You're just going to go closer to death." And my mom was like, "What the fuck is your 12-year-old ass talking about right now? What are you watching?" And then she explained, "Yeah, you're getting closer to death, but at the end of the day, it's something you have to celebrate because no one can control death, right?" So we're here every day, getting a bit older, hopefully getting a bit wiser, and doing what we need to do. KMS83, thank you for becoming a channel member. Appreciate that. Cindy says you're 27 on the 27th, correct. Julie Law, thank you for the $20 super chat. Julie, I think you joined the channel just a couple months ago, and hopefully you've been enjoying the content. So thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it. I'm beneficial as well. Thank you, brother, for the $2 super chat. And thank you for being here. Julie says, couldn't figure out how to send 27, which is what I wanted to do, FYI. I appreciate it, Julie. Thank you. Thank you so much. Means a lot. Means a whole lot. I mean, anyone even just being here and spending time, much less sending a couple bucks, it really, really means a lot that you guys are here. So thank you for being here. Mike says, congratulations to Amit's parents. They're the real all-stars. That is correct. That is correct. Both of them hard workers. They did it with integrity. They did it by doing it the right way. Came to America from India. Worked for $2 an hour. And now, my dad has his own business. My mom is higher in her job than she's been in the past 20 years. So it all of that for me to be able to pursue my dreams, which is one of those things that is very, very humbling when you think about it. I think that's the other thing. The older I get, the more humbled I am by not only the promise of America, but the promise of what my parents did coming to America to give me the ability to do what I'm doing today. I mean, it's just one of those things where you kind of submit yourself to the fact that, you are not greater than what came before you in terms of being able to give you the foundation to do what you're doing today. But in the span of that, you also take advantage of that opportunity and try to become as big as you can get, right? Because the whole idea is for kids to kind of outperform their parents. And I want my kids to be bigger than me in life and to just keep that cycle going and going and going. All right. So I think we should get started with some analysis around the equity markets and go closer from there. Yes, I am a Scorpio. That is correct. That either turns people on or makes people really upset. But I am a Scorpio. Some people hate it. Some people love it. But I love being a Scorpio. It's enigmatic and mysterious, which is a cool thing in my opinion. So I like being a Scorpio. One thing I will say before I get started, I did post this video on Twitter. Some of you guys might have saw it. Some of you guys might have not. I'll talk about that for a little bit. But I test drove a Model Y on yesterday. And let's just say I am very close to getting this damn car. All right, guys. Good morning. Happy Saturday. I'm at the Tesla dealership. I just got 30 minutes to do a drive in the Model Y. I just took my foot off the pedal and we stopped, which is very different for me as someone who's been driving an ICE vehicle for a long time. So I'm going to take this around for the next 30 minutes, see what it feels like. And if it's a cool experience, which is already a pretty cool experience, everything's controlled through the screen, maybe we're getting a Tesla. There we go. So no, maybe, bro. I think we're getting the Tesla. I think we're getting it. Financially, it makes a lot of sense. Getting $15,000 for my Civic, $9,500 in tax credits, 0% APR without having to buy FSD. I don't know if I'm going to get a deal like this again for two reasons. Number one, if Trump gets in office, which we'll talk about this in a second, but I think part of the reason the markets are going up is because Trump's speaking right now. He's in Madison Square Garden. Guys, not only is Madison Square Garden sold out, if you just go on YouTube and you type in Trump Madison Square Garden, there's like 100 channels that are live streaming this event. And there's like 50,000 people per live stream that are watching this event. There's a crap ton of people at the event endorsing Donald Trump, including Elon Musk. And the Joe Rogan podcast has like 25 million views on YouTube in the past 24 hours. The amount of media distribution this man is getting, and we'll find out if it's all the way positive or all the way negative, but it's a lot of media, I think the markets are pricing in a Trump victory right now. That is kind of just my objective take in terms of what I'm seeing in terms of like the analytics. But obviously on November 5th, we'll see with the election. But that might be one of the things that's happening right now. So if Trump does win, I don't know if that $7,500 credit continues to stay. Number two, the Model Y refresh is coming out, which also means, I think, a couple things. A, it could mean maybe they lower the price of the Model Y currently, even though I don't think they're going to do that because they care a lot about automotive margins. B, I have no FOMO on getting the Model Y refresh because I saw some pictures of it. It's just the tires look a little bit different. Maybe the exterior looks, it's not like, oh my God, I got the old version versus the refresh. It's like the refresh does not seem like it's going to be that much more exciting than the current version. Also, I would have to pay more for it, which I don't want to do because it's already expensive as a Tesla. So that's one thing that I'm considering. And then finally, when interest rates go lower, Tesla's going to have more leverage versus right now where they don't have a lot of leverage. 0% APR during a 5% interest rate cycle really is attractive. When interest rates come down, that 0% offer might not be there, which just makes the car overall net more expensive. So I think I'm getting pretty close to getting this Model Y, hopefully in the next week or two. And I'm excited. I'm excited to get it. I think it makes a lot of sense. And, the other thing I was going to say, which I didn't mention on Friday when I was talking about the car, is that if I want to own this car for the next decade, I'll be well into my 30s. I'm assuming by then I'll have a family. A Model Y is a pretty decent family car. And, starting to pay it off now at a very low rate per month over the next 5 years. So I'll be 32 and I'll fully own the car if I buy it at 27. I kind of like that as a family car. I mean, I do not want to be into my mid 30s driving the Civic, just given the fact that, if kids get involved and stuff, like, I don't want to have the Honda Civic as my daily driver. Also, when I really thought about it, I'm like, and can I really make such a substantial return from that $500 a month that the opportunity cost is so great for $6,000 a year, 500 times 12 for me to not buy the Model Y? I was like, no, it's like $500. If it was like $1,000 a month, $1,200, I would get it. I wouldn't consider it. But $500 a month is just not something where I'm like, oh my God, I could put that into the stock market. It's like, it's not that serious at least from what I'm looking at on my own personal finances. So, yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. And hopefully a Model Y, I'll be an owner of that soon and I'll let you guys know more about it. All right. So let's go to Robinhood overnight markets because we got the markets opening up. Palantir, $45.10. Trump did just announce car loans under his administration, if made in the USA, will be tax deductible. Yes, he did say that. I saw that, June. And that's another thing. If my Tesla was made in the United States, which I think it was, they're made in California, if I'm not wrong, or Texas, then there you go. You got a tax deductible car loan if it's made in the USA. I literally heard him say that live right before I went on. So that's another policy that could be good. So 27.25 on Hood, 30.64 on silver. We got 45.10 on Palantir. S&P 500, 581, IWM 220, QQQ 497, NVIDIA 142.55, Tesla 269.94. 41,000 shares overnight volume. Looks like it's heading to 270. SoFi 11.14, up 1.3%. SoFi did close just below $11 at 10.99 on the Friday close. Palantir closed like 44.85. It was such nonsense because we were at 45 right before the market closed, and then it dipped to 44.85. But we're at 45.10 as the pre-market or the overnight markets open. Bitcoin right under 68,000. Dogecoin at 14 cents. Coinbase at 209. Shopify at 79. Amazon 188, Apple at 232, Microsoft 430, Netflix 755, Disney 95, Alibaba 98, Bank of America 41, Snapchat 1055. And I think those are pretty much the big ones. I bet the BlackRock ETF should be up a little bit right now. Yeah, that's up 2%, 38.75 as well. And then you got the Qs at 497.98. Now it's at 498. And NVIDIA at 142, Robinhood at 27.25 as we open the overnight markets. Not bad. Not bad at all. We got a lot to talk about. We got a lot to talk about with some of these stocks, but I expected a decent open as we saw futures were very green. I mean, futures are more green than I've seen in a pretty long time. DJT is up. Yeah, let's check DJT real quick. Where's DJT? DJT is, wow, up 8%. Yeah, tell me you think Trump's winning without telling me you think Trump's winning. There you go, DJT. And look, does DJT logically deserve to be worth $7 billion? No, obviously not. His Truth Social is not worth $7 billion. However, people will buy it as a call option on Trump winning. And that's why I think it's surging right now with what we've got going on. So, all right. So that's what we got on the overnight markets. We got a lot to dive into in terms of what's going on for the futures themselves. and we'll take a look at it as we pull this up. So let me pull up a couple things and then we'll keep going from there. Lunar says, I got DJT calls for the election, LFG. I mean, if he wins, there is a shot. There is a shot those guys can print. All right, so let's start off with some macro, and then we'll get into earnings because we got a big week for earnings. So futures are green. A couple things to understand about futures being green. Number one, futures are up a lot, up 0.5% for futures on the indices is not easy. And the fact that, it's up that much is obviously showing some exuberance that's going on in the stock market. Now, why are futures up that much? We will talk about it in a second. However, I said the stat a couple of days ago, and for those that don't know this stat, this is the first time you're being introduced to it, but October 28th has had the highest single-day returns in the S&P 500 since 1950 on average at 0.5% on the day, which means you're looking at the S&P 500, which, what did it close at? It closed at 579. So let's give 579 a little bit of a boost. Yeah, we're looking at closer to 582-ish, 584, which is not bad. Now, could we get a bump all the way up to 587, 588? It's possible because once you get that 0.5%, maybe it pushes you over the edge. 586, I think, is the all-time high on the S&P 500, or 587. I think it's 586. And so it looks like tomorrow, if it matches with history, we are definitely getting closer to where we were on all-time highs 2 weeks ago, if not surpassing that, which would not be a bad thing at all. Jonathan says, just came in to tell you happy birthday, Amit. Appreciate you later nighttime here. Thank you, Jonathan, for being here. Really appreciate it. Thank you for wishing happy birthday, and thank you for everyone in the chat wishing happy birthday as well. So markets are up. Now, this is obviously a really good thing going into tomorrow and into a week that's going to have big tech earnings. One of the reasons markets are up right now is oil. Oil is down 4%, $4 a barrel. Why is that happening right now? Well, it seems like Israel choosing to not attack Iran's energy infrastructure. On Friday night, there were attacks by Israel on Iran. However, they avoided their nuclear facilities and their oil facilities, which originally they were considering 7 days ago. And then on the actual attack, which was on Friday night, they chose not to do that. That is providing some stability back to the market. It doesn't mean all the Middle Eastern tensions are done, because Iran's probably going to attack back, and then Israel's going to attack back again. They're going to go tit for tat. However, both of them are somewhat smart enough to say we're not going to attack the energy part of the country, which is important, right? Because that just means that the supply and demand of oil can start to stabilize. So oil going down, again, is a very strong thing for input costs across the economy. Every single company, whether you're Facebook or whether you're Google or whether you're United Airlines, has a cost of fuel and oil, either indirectly or directly. And most of the times it's directly. So lower oil prices helps for input costs, which means it can help for earnings per share, which is very good for Q4 guidance. Already, Q3 has been phenomenal with the companies that have reported. So now if you're thinking about Q4 guidance and these companies, like if you're United Airlines, which by the way, if I'm not wrong, their stock is up, I think 60% year to date, 83% year to date. We have to talk about United at one point, because I feel like criminal for me not owning the stock, because every time I fly United. And I'm like, what did I miss in the stock that I love so much about the flying experience that I didn't, hit myself and say, hey, maybe you should buy some shares of the company. So this is one of those names where I'm just like, either it's ridiculously overvalued, or I just was ignorant to the fact that I've been flying United for 15 years now, and I don't have a single share of the company. So we'll talk more about United, but oil costs going down are big for the airlines. I think airlines will be up in the pre-market. So let's actually check what they're doing on overnight trading. And it's big for energy prices coming down for CPI, which we've got coming up in 12 days. And if CPI comes in closer to 2.2, 2.3, the Fed's cutting by another 25, and that's just going to be very good for markets. United on Robinhood is up about 0.5%. Delta on Robinhood is up about 0.5%. Southwest on Robinhood is down a little bit. And then JetBlue, let's take a look at them. JetBlue doesn't trade on the overnight market. So makes sense that airlines are getting a little bit of momentum. Nicholas, thank you again for the $9.99 super chat. You guys do not need to send the super chats, but thank you so much. Tesla, thank you for the 10 euros. It's your birthday. I appreciate that. Thank you for the super chats. Star Buccaneer says, happy birthday. Any of your billionaire friends sending you a Tesla? It was funny last night. Derek called me because I posted that thing about Tesla and I was like, oh my God, you can like move the air conditioning with your finger. If you guys haven't done it before, I feel like I'm the only person in the world who hasn't done it, but like, it's like a really cool experience. I was like, you can move the air from here to here by touching that big ass screen. I tweeted about it and Derek called me. He's like, have you never been in a Tesla? I'm like, dude, I've never like driven a Tesla. I drove it once for like 2 minutes 3 years ago, but I never actually had it for 30 minutes and I got to run around. So he's like, do you want me to just send you my Model Y performance? I'm like, no, I don't want you to just send me your stupid Model Y performance. There's like 7 or 10 of these fucking Teslas. He has a bunch of these things, but I'm really happy to like own one of my own Teslas and like be able to use it. And who knows, dude, maybe I can make some content in it. I'm not getting FSD. I'm not paying $8,000 for FSD. That's a bit ridiculous. Especially when FSD barely works yet. I say barely works in a humorous way because it's not fully all the way there yet, but also I don't drive a lot, so it's like I just don't need FSD right now, but eventually I will get it. It'll be fun to just make some streams with FSD, even though if you try to like move even a little bit, it fucking alerts you and almost and like, you know, it says get back on the road and keep your eyes, so you can't really do anything when you're on FSD. You can't even look at your phone, but eventually I will get it and it'll be cool. Yeah, I'll get the $99 a month subscription eventually as well, and hopefully that'll be some good content for you guys. And you guys can check it out. All right, so we've got oil prices coming down. We've got the broader markets doing well. We got futures going up. And then finally, this is one of the parts we do have to talk about, which I think is affecting the markets right now in regards to futures, is Trump. And then we'll get into the actual earnings that we've got this season. So Bitcoin right here at 68,000. Again, the futures, they're up even more now. The S&P 500 up 0.57%. The NASDAQ up 0.65%. Dow Jones up 0.45%. Small caps, Russell up 0.5% as well. Why are they up? It really feels like the market is pricing in a Trump victory. And this is not a political statement. This is just objective. Right now, Bank of America put out some really good research about what they think will happen to earnings per share if Trump or Harris gets elected. And from their projections, Harris would be a 4% tailwind. Headwind. Trump would be a 5% tailwind. And so it doesn't take a genius to take a look at that and say, hey, stock market probably goes up if Trump wins. Now, does that mean our debt issue is solved? Does that mean our income disparities issues are solved? Does that mean interest rates and inflations are solved? No, obviously not. These are macroeconomic things that are going to happen in the Trump or Harris administration, no matter what. However, one of the things that, at least in the short term, the market's going to price in is lower tax cuts, potentially. And not only lower tax cuts, but the ability for American manufacturing to potentially have a renaissance. And that obviously is a great thing for jobs. Take a look as I pull up the YouTube homepage right now. 111,000 people watching Trump. That is 5x the size of Madison Square Garden. Madison Square Garden is 20,000 people, if I'm not wrong. Trump right here, 111,000 on PBS. And that is one stream of many streams that are streaming this Trump MSG rally right now. And there's a lot of people there. There is a lot of people there, including Elon Musk. So the overall media distribution I think Trump's getting right now is leading not only the betting markets, but I think the broader stock market to think, wait a second, this guy is making a real push for that final spot in the minds and hearts of Americans. And he might end up winning. Look at this, 30 million views in a day. That's over 1 million views per hour on Joe Rogan. I mean, that is just incredible. And again, all 30 million of those people that watch that, are they going to vote for him? Probably not. But the fact is that he's getting exposed to that many people. And then on top of that, Spotify gets on average 14 million views an episode for Joe Rogan. So you're talking about close to 50 million. And that's not excluding all the random clips that have been going around from this podcast on TikTok and Instagram. I mean, there's a lot of media distribution that Trump's getting right now. And I think the market's looking at that. They're looking at the betting markets. They're trying to digest who they think will be the winner. And we don't know who's going to win, but if Trump does win, I think markets pop easily the next day, aggressively. I think Bitcoin also pops aggressively as well. And so when you combine that with the oil prices coming down, plus with the October 28th historical precedent of being the best day ever for the S&P 500 on average, going up 0.5%, tends to lead to a pretty strong overnight trading market that we have right now with futures. And we'll see if that covers over into the pre-markets. And then from the pre-markets, we'll see how that turns out as the market opens. Palantir 45.20 in the pre-markets. I think that's a new 52-week high in the overnight markets. Volume is 8,000 shares, so not a ton of shares, but still blasting above that 45 level right here as we get into the overnight trading. All right, so that's what we got going on with the macro right now. Fool's Gold 11, thank you for the $50 super chat. Appreciate it. Thank you so much again. I think you gave a super chat on Fridays. You don't have to give a super chat. So thank you again for the super chat, and thank you for the happy birthday wishes as well. Yes, the Joe Rogan podcast does have 30 million views in a day, which is just insane, dude. I think that's a record for Rogan. I think only Elon, did a little bit more than that. So I think that is definitely a big step for Rogan's podcast in itself, and it's one of the highest episodes that I would imagine he's done in a long time. Okay, cool. So that was macro. Let's talk about big tech earnings. So this week we've got a lot in big tech earnings, and I kind of want to do something like this. We've got a lot of companies. There's a few that I definitely think are very important to talk about. I'm going to show you guys the list, and you guys in the chat just name the stocks that you think are the most important to kind of talk about. And let's just pick 5 of them and kind of do some earnings previews on these guys. And we can probably do more than 5. We can bucket a bunch of these, but these are the companies that are reporting. And even these don't have all the names. Like somehow they left SoFi and Robinhood off this list. Just totally disrespected SoFi and Robinhood. But SoFi is going to be on Tuesday. Robinhood's going to be on Wednesday. So those are going to be big, at least for my portfolio in terms of what happens with them. But then you got a bunch of other names. You got Ford, you got Eli Lilly, you got Microsoft, you got Uber, you got Amazon, Apple, Intel, Google, AMD, Snapchat, Visa, Caterpillar, Reddit, ExxonMobil, Fubo TV. I mean, this is going to be one hell of a week when it comes to earnings. And it's going to be one of those weeks where like we really got to pay attention, because if this week, if this screen that you're looking at, if 80% of these companies, which is currently the trend, can beat on the top and the bottom, and the ones that miss can have a slight miss on one of the 2 metrics, because most of the companies that are missing, they're only missing on one of the metrics, and usually it's revenue, which is a really good sign for EPS. That means operational efficiency is going up, which means like essentially operating expenses are going down or flat, which is allowing them to increase earnings per share. Even if they're missing slightly on the revenue numbers, that is like insignificant in the broad scheme of the earnings that these companies are putting up. So if that's how this week can end out, with some companies either beating on both levels or slightly missing on one of the levels, then I think the market's going to really like it. And then as long as the election doesn't have anything crazy happen, I think, this year can end out really well for November and December. We're getting into the home stretch. All of us want to protect our gains that we have this year, and we got to get through Q3. We got to get through the election. But if we do that, then, maybe we end up having a pretty decent end of the year. Okay, so I got a bunch of tickers that you guys have in the chat. We'll reference this list again, but we can go through some of the names that I think are important. PayPal also on Tuesday. That's going to be a big one with SoFi. Oh, there's SoFi right at the bottom. There's SoFi. I see it now. Right at the bottom on that one. You got JetBlue, McDonald's, BP, Pfizer, Royal Caribbean. I mean, just so many companies that are going to be reporting. And so it'll be important to kind of take a look at all these. Okay, so let's talk about SoFi. I think SoFi is going to be one of the big ones that we got going on. Cindy, thank you for becoming a channel member. Appreciate it, Cindy. Thank you for becoming a channel member. So, wow, Pounter 45.43. Holy crap, dude. 45.38. Dude, 50, I don't want to say it, but 50 is looking like it's just around the corner. I know what that means in terms of valuation, but hey, sometimes, you got the juice and the juice keeps squeezing, and that made no sense, but you get my point. Like sometimes things can go higher as people get more and more excited about the story. Plus, Karp's got a book coming out. And that book, I think, is going to be big marketing as well for Palantir. Okay, so let's talk about SoFi. SoFi, I think, is going to go well. I think SoFi is going to have great earnings. I don't think SoFi is going to suck on earnings. I expect a triple beat, and I expect a guidance raise, and that guidance raise, I think, is going to be very important for the broader SoFi narrative to make sense. Data-driven investing had his predictions here on SoFi. I largely agree with most of them, although I do think they could surprise a little bit to the upside on GAAP EPS potentially. But this is what he thinks. So he thinks 675,000 new members, $4.7 billion in loan originations, $950 million in student loan originations, $3 billion in deposits. I think this is largely accurate. Lending revenue $335 million, financial services $210, tech platform $103, corporate revenue -$11, total adjusted net revenue $654. Makes sense to me. Adjusted EBITDA $169, net income $49, GAAP EPS 4 cents. If you round up, it'll be 5 cents. I think the street's expecting $624 in revenue, so it would be a decent beat if they can put up $654. Let's check that right now. SoFi, street's expecting 633. Okay, so even 654 would be good if the street's expecting 633. And on top of that, he says bonus prediction that is certainly going to be wrong. Q4 guidance will be 665 million, 174 adjusted EBITDA, and 5 cents of EPS. He basically means they're going to be sandbagging here, or he's sandbagging, and they're likely going to have much better guidance than this from Q4. I think it is all about the EPS number for SoFi, because one of the biggest problems with SoFi has been that on a TTM basis, they're not profitable. Well, they're going to be profitable over the next 2 quarters on a TTM basis as they put up positive earnings per share. But I think if they can just put up a little bit more than what the street's expecting versus, 4 to 5 cents, maybe closer to 7 or 8 cents, which is a lot. It's asking a lot out of SoFi. And I don't think they bought back any shares, so they don't have any financial engineering mechanisms to be able to get that. But if the organic growth could just get there, by the way, SoFi on the App Store has had a good run the past 2 months. It's been like not top 20, but top 30. Usually it's in the top 40. And so I think new members are going to be large. Even my cousin from India, she has a SoFi account because she lives in America. And she says that's where she has her emergency savings account of about like 20,000, getting 4.5%. And so when she told me that, I was like, interesting. Like, she chose to open it up with SoFi probably because of that yield that she was getting, but also because like she probably didn't want to go to JP Morgan or Bank of America or a physical bank and just wanted to do it online. And, there is an argument that online presence can attract new deposits. Is it going to be enough to break Bank of America? Probably not, but it will be taking a little bit of market share. And given how small SoFi is, you don't need that much for us to see some movement in the stock, just in terms of the top line growth that they can put up. So I think EPS should be higher than 4 cents for guidance, probably 5 cents for this quarter. If they shock to 7 to 8 cents, I think that'll be huge. And I think we go to 12 immediately. I don't think, I'll put my foot in the ground right here, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I don't think there's going to be a pop up on SoFi and then a terrible drawdown, which happens pretty much every time, right? It pops up. Last couple quarters have been popping up to $9 or $8.90, and then comes literally all the way back down to $6.50. I don't think that happens this time. I think the macro environment is different. The tailwind is different for lending, and every other bank is performing very well. SoFi is going to be no exception to that because they are a bank. They have all these other elements outside of being a bank attached to it. And that should be enough, along with if Noto brings the hammer and Noto actually, talks the way he needs to talk as a CEO who gets the shorts to be afraid. By the way, the shorts are still not afraid. The short float came out, and as of October 15th, 180 million shares are still short. Now, I know it's October 27th, and maybe some of those shorts have covered, but I doubt 180 million of them have covered in the past 12 days. Because if they did, we would have seen a higher stock price on SoFi. We would have seen a higher squeeze. So 17% of the float is still short, and they need to cover in 2 days, and Noto needs to give them a reason to cover. So it's going to be very, very important to see that happens. And if that does, we're going to have some options that print, folks. And when I bought the SoFi options, I was on the phone with Steve one day, and I was like, Steve, you know what was really inspired the options? Steve called me one day, and he was like, I need to put $100,000 into something. And I was like, why? And then he sent me some Zillow of like a $3 million house in the Hamptons. He's like, I want to buy this. And, Steve is just a random dude, like a weird random. He'll call you. He'll say, the other day he called me and he said, do you like milk? I was like, no. He's like, I love milk. And he sent me a picture of milk. And I'm like, first of all, like, you just drink like raw white milk? He was like, yeah, I just love it. I was like, okay, that's all right. That's weird. But he said, I need to turn $100,000 into $3 million. And I know he was kind of joking, but he was also kind of serious. And I was like, all right, so we need to turn $100,000 into $3 million. What do we do? And then me, given my name is Derivamit, we haven't used that in a while, but we're back, baby. I was like, Steve, SoFi, $15, $20 calls, trading at 35 cents. If it gets to $5, that's a 14x. We'll do some good with that $100,000 if you put it in there. And then Steve is just, Steve is Steve. He's like, well, I'm like, Steve, like, you already believe in SoFi. You don't think this thing is at least $15 in another year? And he's like, I don't know. He's like way too bearish. He was more bearish than me. And so then I bought it thinking, all right, this 3,500 could be 50 grand. I had no idea this 3,500 would be 8 grand in like less than a month. But now I'm kind of thinking, dude, if SoFi has the tailwind where it can actually get its way closer to 20, those options are going to print, but also, there's a real shot that $20 is possible given Noto's PSUs are also at 25 by 2026. So maybe there's a shot. We leave those options, let them print, see what happens. I know a lot of people have a lot of options in SoFi from last year that they're trying to get into the money, whether it's $11, $12, $15 by January 2025. January 17, 2025, mark that on your calendar because that is the date where I think some of, like, I would say there's tens of millions of options contracts that were acquired in late 2023, early 2023, late 2022 for January 17, 2025 that are going to expire. That is going to be a hell of a day. January 17, 2025. We're going to see a lot of wonky things in the market. But if SoFi options are in the money, then a lot of people with SoFi, will make some money. So that's my preview on SoFi. I think SoFi is going to be okay. And, they just got to have good guidance. If they have good guidance, I think they're going to crush. And if they crush, that is going to be very good for the broader market. Michelle says, when life gives you lemons, I guess. Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, Palantir has the lemons, and they keep finding a way to squeeze more and more juice out of those lemons. Now, speaking of Palantir, I do have to bring up some bearish news on Palantir. What do you guys think is the bearish news? Put it in the chat. Well, I don't want to say this is bearish. This is news. You can interpret it as bearish. I can understand how people interpret it as bearish, but it is news. It doesn't have to be bearish. But I think a lot of you guys didn't see this because you were probably getting drunk on Friday night and you might have missed something. And based on you missing something, this could be interpreted as bearish or bullish, but let's see what you guys have to say. Okay, some of you guys got it. Yes, Carp sold. So Carp sold a decent amount of shares, folks. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. You're looking at 1.7 million shares, $75 million of stock. Alex Carp sold on Friday. $43.55 is the average. Now, having said that, couple things here. First of all, I did a very long video 2 weeks ago about insider selling, so you can watch that on my channel where I talk about it in depth. So I'm not going to spend another 30 minutes going in depth about that. So most people know my thoughts on insider selling. I'm not going to talk too much about that. But what's very important to me is Carp sold $75 million of stock, and the sucker still went up 3.5% on Friday. Like, it is actually insane. The insiders, you kind of feel like, are trying to cash out at the top, and they can't get the top. Palantir closed at 44.79. Carp sold at 43.55. He didn't even get the top on Friday. He definitely didn't get the top 3 weeks ago when he sold at 35. Peter Thiel tried to sell at 37. He thought he was smarter than Carp, getting $2 extra on Carp. He didn't get the top because now we're at 45. So it's like these guys, I feel like they keep trying to cash out, and every time they're like, damn it, like someone's willing to buy the shares. So, yeah, I mean, look, is that kind of bearish? Sure, because he did sell a decent number of shares. What did he sell? 9 million shares a couple of weeks ago. Now he's selling 1.7 million shares. I can understand how someone interprets that as bearish. Not going to deny that. But also, if the liquidity is there for someone to gobble up these shares at a multiple that we all know is a bit excessive for Palantir at 40 times price to sales, and I think Carp knows that as well. I think Peter Thiel knows that as well. But the liquidity is there. Then for us as shareholders who don't have as many shares as Carp, and, he's risk mitigating as his stake gets bigger and bigger, because at some point it just gets ridiculous for him. He's worth, I think the last time I checked, $3.5 billion now. For us that, maybe have 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 shares or 2,000 shares, like risk mitigating doesn't make that much sense because the stakes are just so different. So I can understand why he's taking some off the top. But if the liquidity is there for him to take some off the top and for the stock to still go higher, it's pretty fucking incredible. Like it's pretty damn incredible. And now we just got to see, if that can continue to maintain higher. Lunar says, Amit, ever notice how when it hits big numbers like 45, it triggers insider sales? I'm sure they have some sort of auto sale when it hits certain price for market cap. So I would agree with you that they have a auto button set up on a certain $/market cap of the company's valuation to sell. However, I don't think it's a 105B scheduled one sale. And so the difference there is like they could have an automatic trigger to sell, but it doesn't mean that that sell has to be scheduled in accordance with the SEC, meaning that could be an open market sell as well. Like, for example, Carp's lawyers could have 2 million shares ready to be sold at $57.45. And they're probably not even looking at the at the brokerage app, whatever brokerage app they use, because they're like, hey, whenever it gets there, Carp has already told us sell some shares. And so boom, we're going to let it. And then randomly one day they wake up and boom, it's there. I think that's how they're feeling with this $43, $44 stuff. And it just triggered the sale. And now they're like, all right, well, we were supposed to sell, so we did the right thing selling, but like the stock's still going higher, even though we're selling. So did we really do the right thing? I think it's this unique situation Palantir's in right now. And if they crush earnings and this sucker runs to 50, then it's one of those things where the liquidity and the story around Palantir is just massive. Massive, massive, massive. So again, I don't blame Carp for selling. It makes sense as the stock goes higher and you have a massive position. You do need to trim that. Like, that's just risk mitigation, especially his entire net worth is in Palantir. However, I can understand how people think it's a little excessive as we as he had a lot of insiders selling the last couple of weeks. My only response to that is that the stock has gone up even more than that. So regardless of if you sold a lot of shares a couple of weeks ago, if the stock goes up another 20%, it's like when you're sitting on 20, 30 million shares, you probably do have to risk mitigate a little bit. The bigger thing here is that the fact that the market was able to absorb this liquidity just means that people really believe in the Palantir story. And that's incredible for us because what we care about is getting more and more people into this story, and more people get into the story obviously just brings more liquidity and more potential for the stock to go higher. Bitcoin right here at 67,900. Where is Tesla on the overnight markets? Let me pull up Tesla. Tesla is 272. 272 up 1.3%. So Tesla's at 272. That's breaking 270. Palantir's at 45.29. Again, 52-week high for Palantir. Robinhood's 27.30. Nvidia's 142. Whereas even China's up. FXI is up about 0.5%. And then SoFi is up 1.73. SoFi 11.18 right now. Davis says amid the $60 strike for January 2025 is going for like $1.16 right now. Yeah, that's incredible. The fact that people are willing to pay $1.16 per share for that $60 call. It's pretty amazing, dude. Look, again, Carp last sold at 35. Yeah, it was like 35 to 36. That was the range. Either I've been saying this for a while. Either we get all humbled on Q3 earnings by Palantir and the stock drops 20%, and all of us are just look. If the stock dropped 20%, I think all of us would be like, yeah, it was up there, right? Like it's very understandable, which is a good thing if it drops. I don't think it's one of those things like in May of 2021. Sorry, May of Q1. The quarter in 2024 where it dropped and all of us were like, what the fuck? Like, why? Like, why did it go down 20%? Like, it was hard to kind of judge because it was just a great quarter. This time, if it goes down 20%, even on a good quarter, I think all of us could be like, yeah, we get it. The stock, it's had a pretty, even Nvidia did that after their big quarter in August, and then they ended up rebounding. The good thing is that would be a dip, in my opinion, to buy because nothing's wrong with the story. Nothing's wrong with the thematic. And ultimately, if the multiple just gets too high and it takes a little bit of a breather, which is what Nvidia did as well, it will eventually make its way back as it consolidates, which is very healthy and normal. So either that's going to happen or we're heading to 50. It's one or the other. I don't think we're staying flat. I think there's a decent 20% move to the upside or the downside. But it'll be fun. We'll have our Super Bowl on November 4th and see what happens with Palantir. Okay, cool. So that's what we got going on in Palantir. Sonny says right before earnings, is that a red flag? So that's the reason I said carp selling could be bearish because first of all, I didn't even know insiders were allowed to sell 2 weeks before earnings. Like it's literally 1 week before earnings for Palantir. I like when I saw this, I was like, what? You're allowed to sell? I had no idea you could do that. That's why I think it's definitely not scheduled, because if it was scheduled, there's no way they would do that a week before earnings, or at least to me, that doesn't make sense. But yeah, look, is it a red flag? No, because we've talked about the broader story about carp selling and what that means, along with all insiders. But the timing of it, I can see how it's interpreted as like, all right, is he cashing out right before an earnings dump, even if they produce good numbers, but the multiples are too high? And quite frankly, I think Carp's financial people are like, dude, the stock's getting up there at 45. The numbers you have in Q3 are good, but they're definitely not going to be good enough to justify this. We should take some profits. Now, granted, they said the same thing to him probably at 35. We saw what happened from there. So now at 45 is just the question of if they're going to be right again, or if this thing can continue to maintain momentum and go higher. All right, that's what we got on Palantir. Let's talk about Robinhood. We got Robinhood earnings as well. Guys, I think Robinhood's going to crush. Now, in terms of the stock price, I have no clue. My best guess is that the stock is going to be flat because Robinhood has historically been flat every time that they've had their earnings. Last time, dude, it was funny. Last time they reported $682 million of revenue. And just like a huge beat, like 680, that's almost $700 million of revenue. But they reported 2 days after August 5th. So the stock fell to like $16. And I'm looking at the results and the stock is flat. Like its stock's moving like 0.05% after hours on the earnings. And I'm just looking at the stock like, I just like the stock is insignificant to me right now because these numbers are phenomenal. And the next day, I bought as much as I could. I got my sister to buy as much as I could. I got my mom. And like, that's the cool thing about financial markets when you have fucking conviction, dude. It's the one thing that is the most special skill set People talk about having monetizable skill sets and skill sets that you can actually make a living on. And one of the skill sets that's very important in the equity markets is fucking conviction. When you can have conviction, and you can go in, look at an earnings, look at a stock that's depressed after those earnings, that's down after those earnings, and say, no, I'm buying. I mean, it's where real wealth is created in the stock market, right? Because that's the only way you get a discount. The only way you get a discount is when you're right, when you're right and everyone's wrong, at least for a short amount of time. And now Robinhood at 27, those $16 buys obviously were decent buys for anyone who engaged in it. So I think the same thing could happen here. I don't think we fall back to the 25, 24 range. I think we're kind of beyond that, just given all the macro things that have happened over the past couple of weeks, along with the futures, index options, the investor day, all that stuff. But I think we could be flat to like 25, 50, 26. And if that's the case, I think it'll just take until after the election for the market to internalize the numbers. So these were the August metrics. They added 60,000 customers. They added 3.3 billion in deposits. Cash sweep went up by about $1 billion, 22.8, collecting that 5% yield. Options contracts were 146 million. Margin book was 5.5 billion. Crypto volumes was 5.4 billion, and equity notional volumes were about 96 billion. I believe that they could lose 20% volumes in September for options, equities, and crypto, meaning they could go down month over month sequentially from August to September in all three of those major major categories for transaction revenues, and they will still grow 40% because margin balances, even if margin balances are flat in September, will get them an extra $10 million. Cash sweep, even if it's flat, will get them an extra $5 million. The interest on their cash will be stable, even though the Fed lowered by 50 bips towards the end of September, which is not going to have that big of an impact. And net deposits, remember, September was the month where they were giving out the 1% brokerage match. I personally know people that transferred literally $50 to $70 million into the platform. I think we get another $4 billion month. So I think on a conservative estimates, we crush a little bit more than conservative. We really crush. And if anything happened in September with Bitcoin, which it wasn't a crazy month in September, but it was a decent month. If you get crypto that rebounded in September, that could be another thing that's just going to print net income, because all of that is pretty much like 90% margins. And that's going to be great for profitability. I also think there's a hunch that I have that Robinhood bought the dip with all of us on August 5th. Remember, they authorized $1 billion of buybacks. So that means that theoretically, I don't know how a trigger finger happy Vlad would get. But look, when the stock went to 15, I know I bought shares. I would imagine Vlad looking at his board of directors, they authorized $1 billion and him being like, hey, let's just buy 10 million shares. That would be, 150 million out of the 50 of the 1 billion. Look, if I was, is it a little risky to buy that much at that moment because you're kind of uncertain? Yes, which is why they probably didn't do it. But also, they're really smart. And I think they know, like, you're not going to get a deal like $15 again for Robinhood unless we have a huge recession in 2025, which is possible. But if that doesn't happen, it's just very hard. Like Palantir at 20, it's very hard to see that happening. That was an August 20 to August 5th phenomena, and then it's gone. So I hope Palantir bought back shares on August 5th as well. I mean, that would have been really smart if they bought back shares at $20, so they were already buying back shares at 22. So given the amount of shares they buy back, EPS, the street's expecting 18 cents. Dude, we could have a 25 to 30 cent EPS quarter, blow it out of the water. Street's expecting 654 million. I think we get closer to 670. And then, Vlad just has to get on the call, answer the same questions they've been answering, and kind of have the same confidence he's had. They already are having an investor day in New York, which I think I'm going to. I got an email asking me to RSVP. So I think I'll be there at the investor event in New York. And I think they're going to crush. And I think $30 looks like it's more likely for Robinhood. So we'll see with Hood, but I do think that it's going to be pretty strong for Robinhood, and the momentum will be exciting. But that's what I got going on right now for Robinhood. Implied move on Robinhood is 12%. Yeah, the implied move is always high for Hood, but then the actual move never ends up being that high. At least for the past couple quarters. The quarter before, the Q1, there was I think it was like a 8% move, and the next day it was up like another 9%. So Q1, but that's when it was $10. Now it's at 27. So it's harder for it to go up, but it's also a bit harder for it to come down if they have really, really good numbers. Tanner stole your Vlad interview because you were in India. Yes, exactly. Tanner stole the Vlad interview. I had Tanner and Crossroads on the show on the on Thursday, and we did a 45-minute segment of them talking about their Hood Summit experience. So if you guys want to check that out, you can. I'm also going to post it separately on Twitter. But there was a lot of good takeaways. One of the funniest things was Vlad said something to Tanner about SoFi, and Tanner said something back, and the punchline was Vlad was like, "Oh, of course they're going to do that because they copy us every 6 months." It was, I'm forgetting the exact thing he said, but the punchline was Tanner brought up something about SoFi, and Vlad was like, "Of course, because they copy us every 6 months." Which SoFi has copied Robinhood as of Friday. They're now giving you 1% on your deposits, which is what Robinhood started to do this year as well. So it was kind of funny, them talking about SoFi going back and forth, obviously because Tanner's a big SoFi guy. But yeah, hopefully we'll get to be at that investor day, and that'll be fun. And I think we're looking at a stock that's closer to $30 on that investor day. And, as long as the market kind of holds up, then shouldn't be too bad of a year for Robinhood. Jesse says, Amit, what do you think of nuclear energy stocks? Look, I'm still doing my DD on them. I know they're exploding. I saw a headline this morning about nuclear energy and Google. I just haven't had enough time to dude, I feel like this week, although I got back from India, I have had no time to do anything at all. So it's been, and yesterday I slept. Yesterday I just slept the whole day. After I came back from the Tesla store, I just went to sleep because I feel like I just haven't slept all week. So I think this week is the actual week I'm going to get my shit back to normal, and things will be back in my schedule. I'll be waking up on time, all that stuff. And, we'll be able to actually allocate time to do DD and all that other good stuff. Why does every Indian have an overstretched polo? I don't know. I don't know. I guess that's a thing. Is this an overstretched polo? I guess it's a thing. I don't know. I don't know. I guess that's what Indians do. I think you're right on that, though. I have seen a lot of Indians wear that type of stuff. Alex says, enjoy the rest of your special day amid hitting the sack. Alex, thank you for being here. Really, really appreciate it. And thank you again for all the birthday wishes. Okay, so that's what we got on Robinhood. Let's do big tech all together. I know I got to get you guys out of here because I've kept you guys hostage for the past 50 minutes. But big tech earnings. So what's going on with big tech earnings? Let's do them kind of all at once, and I'll give my high level thoughts on them. Let's put this in the chat. Which one are you the most interested in out of this list? Google, Microsoft, Amazon, or Meta? For me, the answer is unequivocally Alphabet. I want to know what's going on in Google. And the reason I want to know what's going on in Google is because honestly, it's the cheapest stock in the Mag 7. Absurdly, it is the cheapest stock in the Mag 7 for the cash flows and the net income they put up. However, Perplexity said they're now doing 400 million queries a month, up from 250 million. They're raising at a $9 billion valuation. You've got the DOJ potentially wanting to break up Google and quite literally make it YouTube, cloud, Android, etc., which I think would be kind of stupid, but maybe it would help shareholders. I kind of think it wouldn't, because I think Google subsidizes a lot of the losses that the other industries bring in, and they're still able to, put up decent numbers. But let's say the DOJ does that. There's just so many revolving factors around Google that it's really interesting to me what the market's reaction is going to be. My gut feeling is I think Google's going higher. I think Google's going to pop 7% because it is so undervalued for their growth that when the algos take into account the actual growth they're going to put up, barring they don't show a year-over-year decrease in search ad revenue, which I don't think they're going to do. But if they do, all hell is going to break loose. Now, if that doesn't happen and the sort of Perplexity taking Google's lunch is just more qualitative versus quantitative, then I think the algos are going to look at these numbers and be like, why is this stock trading at 25 times earnings? Why does this make sense? And so I think as a result of that, Google's going to come down. Google's going to go higher just because the market's going to be like, this makes no sense. So that is my gut feeling on Google, but it's the one I'm the most interested in. And unfortunately, on Tuesday after hours, you've got Robinhood earnings at the same time of Google. So, at the same time as Microsoft and Meta. So I'll be covering Robinhood, but at the same time, we'll be trying to look at Microsoft and Meta, but we won't be able to literally dissect those immediately as we have Robinhood coming out. So we got a lot of stuff coming out on Wednesday, but Google, we will have the entire day to just dissect on Tuesday what the hell happens with Google. And I might buy a lotto call on Google because I really do think it's ridiculously undervalued and the street's going to see those numbers and they're going to be excited. But having said that, I'm also a little afraid to engage in any of the earning bets for Google or for the Mag 7 because of this chart right here. I think you guys have seen this chart before, but earnings growth for the Mag 7 is expected to be the lowest in 3 quarters. As you can see right here, it is just the year-over-year estimates are going down because they've grown so much. And as you can see from the July peak, before we have the Japan meltdown, the Mag 7 index has been one of the worst performers. What's actually outperformed the most is utilities, real estate, and financials. And if Trump wins, it looks like financials are going to go even higher, particularly regional banks. So tech is not set to benefit as much over the past couple of weeks. And that's primarily because tech was already so hot that even when it fell, it like Google fell from 190 to 160. Okay. So Google's still undervalued, but it was almost near $200 and it started the year at 120. So it's like already it was such a big gain that, the markets were able to stabilize a little bit more. But if the Mag 7 expectations, although lower, do not match up with how the street is interpreting the guidance for Q4, that's where I think we can see some hiccups in the Mag 7. And Google obviously could be one of those that does get a hiccup. Amit, what do you think Apple has accomplished this year to justify a 25% increase year to date? Well, let's talk about Apple's projections as well going into Thursday. I don't think Apple's done anything to justify being up 25% year to date. Apple is up primarily because of index funds that have passive flows that need to buy the most important companies in the world. Apple is one of the most important companies in the world, but in terms of the raw metrics and growth, Apple has done absolutely nothing to justify being at $230 and a $3.5 trillion market cap with a 35 PE. Now, the narrative changes based on this. iPhone upgrades and iPhone super cycles. The problem with iPhone upgrades and iPhone super cycles, by the way, Apple Intelligence 18.1 is releasing tomorrow, so more people will be able to play with it. The problem with that narrative is that if that does not significantly increase the upgrade volumes of the iPhone 16, the entire epicenter of the narrative of Apple, which is that they are the consumer adoption play for AI, which I believe they are. I do think consumers will access AI via Apple. And that narrative maybe is the only thing that justify them being up 25% this year. If that narrative is cut in half, then I think the stock gets cut in half. Now, that's not happening towards the end of the year. I think Apple's going to 250 by the end of the year. And the reason for that is just because if we get a melt up and we get rate cuts and you get any positive news on iPhone sales, any positive guidance, anything about Tim Cook talking about demand for Apple Intelligence being astronomical, even though we know the China lead times are not the best, all that stuff, they're going to push this sucker higher. I think the broader market is just going to do that for Apple. Because it's Apple at the end of the day, and it gets the benefit of the doubt because it's Apple. But fundamentally, does it deserve to be up 25% this year? Probably not. Not in my opinion. But we're definitely gonna need to see some numbers on those iPhone sales to see what we get. June says I'm still mostly betting on mid caps. I think that's a smart thing to do. I think IWM probably outperforms towards the rest of the year if we get a real rotation. The one thing that always hurts the rotation thesis is that people just love buying the Mag 7 at the end of the day, right? Like they just feel safer buying Nvidia, Meta, etc. So that could maybe take a little money out of the rotation trade. But then again, when you think about that, and then you think about money market funds, which again, 6.5 trillion on the sidelines, it does beg the question, money's going to be coming from somewhere. And does that money want to buy Google if it goes to 180, or does it want to buy small caps that are historically undervalued against the S&P and against Mag 7 companies that have already had a good year? And maybe that money ends up going to mid caps and small caps. So that's what we got on Google. Nvidia's actually, well, we don't need to talk about Nvidia because Nvidia is going to happen in the next month, November 20th. But in general, I think Nvidia is setting up to have a monster quarter. Meta is the next company that is going to be reporting on Wednesday. I think Meta is going to crush. Zuck's been on an absolute tear. Zuck has been working his ass off in terms of getting the narrative to change around Meta over the past couple of years, from this evil company that steals your data to the most elite company in the world that has a swagged out CEO who is innovating when it comes to your glasses, your Ray-Ban technology, all that stuff. I think for Zucks, it's a layup. Like, the stock's already up a lot. He just needs to not F it up. And the only way he Fs it up is if the CapEx spend is so strong with zero resemblance of an ROI that the street's just like, all right, buddy, is this Reality Labs 2.0 or what's going on here? And, Zuck spent a lot of time on the earnings call talking about, hey, you guys got to give us some time. He was like, you guys got to give us at least till 2026 to show you an ROI. I mean, he explicitly said, give us about a year or two to show you the fancy ROI you care about from AI, which is fair. But how much patience do investors have? I don't know. So I think if CapEx is relatively stable, advertising business is going to compound 15 to 20%. By the way, political advertising is in its prime time right now, and maybe some of those results will come in Q4, but I'm sure a ton of them came in Q3. So political ads should be a tailwind to the business as well. And then guidance on the physical hardware side of the business, given they had a great conference and Apple basically threw in the towel when it came to the Vision Pro, is being reported. if he just lines up the guidance with the advertising numbers crushing, along with a cogent story around the ROI on AI being intact, I think Meta is closer to 600. Probably even higher than that if they can really, really crush on earnings. So I don't think we get a dip. Remember when Meta fell from like 480 to 400 or something 2 quarters ago? I don't think that happens again. I don't think that's happening. So if that's not happening, then it doesn't have to go all the way up to 600, but I don't think it's taking a nasty, nasty dip. Because again, a lot of these investors have also become smart enough to realize what's happening right here. Like there's going to be some short-term irrational stuff happening this week with stocks, but a lot of them know that the Fed's cutting. Whether Trump or Harris wins, they're going to have a split Congress, so that's not going to have that much of an impact. And inflation's coming down. If that's the case, you buy stocks. Like you buy stocks. And if you buy stocks at that point, then, Meta is one of the companies that's one of the best stocks. And so I think the market will be smart enough to realize, hey, we're going to allocate here. Now, one thing that could happen is the market says, you know what, we know we want to buy Meta, but we want Meta at a discount. And we're going to use this election stuff as a narrative to maybe drive the price down. I think, that is one very clever thing the market can engage in this week, where Robinhood has amazing earnings, but then the narrative becomes, well, we have to wait till the election. And then Robinhood drops like 24, 25. And then after the election, boom, it spikes up. I think those are dips you buy if it crashes. If any of these stocks have great earnings and they crash on earnings, including Meta. But it will be a question of how much emphasis they put on election volatility as the reason for why they might not buy, which is also a fair reason. I mean, I think a lot of portfolio managers do want to hedge their bets a little bit and chill out with allocating a ton of capital right before the biggest election of our lifetime. Palantir's at 45.45. That is a big deal. Let's check the volume. Again, the volume always isn't that much, but yeah, 23,000 shares of volume, not that crazy. However, there's someone buying it at 45.45 if it got there. Robinhood's at 27.30. Nvidia at 142, S&P at 582, GameStop's up a little bit, Tesla at 271, PayPal at 82, and SoFi 1118. Look, one thing, a lot of people say, oh, Robinhood's overnight markets suck at determining pre-market action. Honestly, dude, they're not that bad. And if Palantir is hitting 45.45 right now, we've seen it happen over the past couple of weeks. Palantir bounces in the overnight markets and then dips as soon as the pre-market opens because every brokerage opens. But that sentiment is emblematic of what happens. At least that's what the data has shown for Palantir every single time. Every time Palantir was 35 or 36 in the pre-markets, it would open, come down to 34, then jump up to 36.50, and then it would kind of stay there. And then the same thing would happen at 40, 37, 38. We've seen this happen for the past month. So, it's not always the most accurate predictor, but if it's hitting high 45s right now, there's a shot maybe we get that going into the morning. Sandy, thank you for the $10 super chat. Thanks, Amit, for all the learnings and earnings. Happy birthday. Wish a great year ahead, Palantir and Hood. Thank you, Sandy. Appreciate that as well. It's been pretty cool, right? Palantir and Hood have been the two horses that I bet on this year. And as a result of you guys watching my channel, I got a lot of you guys to bet on those horses. Not because I told you to bet on those horses. Obviously, it's never financial advice, but because I'm so annoying and I keep talking about these stupid stocks. I know a lot of you have bet on those horses. One of the things that's interesting about this is and I do this, I was thinking about this the other day because I do this myself with other creators, is sometimes if you think someone has studied a company, here's why I was thinking about this. I was thinking about this with Rocket Lab because I was thinking about all right, when do I want to get my Rocket Lab position? And I saw the price at 11 and I'm it's up 60%. But then I was but Matt's a smart guy. I was Matt Money's not stupid. He's a smart guy. He knows that I trust him. I trust his due diligence. He's one of the smartest investing guys I know. So I'm even if I buy it at 11, maybe I'm overpaying a little bit right here. But it's not a defunct bullshit company, right? Because I trust Matt and Vince so much because I know those guys personally. And look, they could still be wrong, but I'm they've done fucking 50 episodes on Rocket Lab Weekly. They understand there's something juicy here. And as a result, they made a lot of money because they bet on it at $4 and now it's at 11. So I think sometimes when someone is so obsessed with something and they write a 7-page essay on Robinhood's Q3 earnings on Twitter, people tend to be all right, at least this person has studied it. And if it falls, it falls. But if you're going to default to someone who actually knows what they're doing in regards to a specific company because they've dedicated so much time to it, it gives you a little bit more conviction that all right, maybe Amit's not the biggest idiot when it comes to this stuff because of how deep he is on these companies. And maybe Matt's not the biggest idiot when he talks about Rocket Lab maybe all these people aren't, stupid if they go that deep on one company. Now, I think this is only important for single stocks, because if you pretend to know everything about everything, then like no one can trust you then, right? So like this is why Bill Ackman only has 7 or 8 positions. So when he makes a new position, we look at it because it's Bill freaking Ackman, right? The guy only bets on a couple stocks every decade. So the Nike buy, I still don't understand it, but it's Bill Ackman, so I give him the benefit of the doubt. Now I'm not buying Nike because of Bill Ackman, but at least it's one of those things that makes you think a little bit more deeper about it. SoFi is doing well. Yeah, I mean, in terms of SoFi, Tanner is not an idiot. Tanner is a smart guy. So when I see SoFi at $7, $8, even though I'm not the most bullish on the company, but I see Tanner breaking it down and really understanding it, I have to ask myself, is Tanner an idiot? And has he spent the last 2 years analyzing a company that like is just a bullshit company, or is the stock market just wrong and Tanner's right? And, when I bought my SoFi options, I kind of defaulted. I think Tanner's right on this. I obviously have my own kind of convictions here to an extent, but I feel like Tanner's not the dumbest guy in the world when it comes to analyzing this. So it all depends just on how deep your belief is in someone else's research and conviction on a topic as well. 45.50 on Palantir. Wow, this sucker is moving. I think I got to put a screenshot, folks, on Twitter. Even though it's the overnight markets and they're not going to matter as much at 4 a.m., we got to do the screeny. 45.50 is 50 cents away from 46, folks. This is this is important. By the way, that Robinhood whiskey that they gave me at the gold event, we are drinking that in January if things play out. So I'm drinking the whole thing, obviously with Chaser, because there's no way I could drink it. But that'll be a fun stream. That will be a fun. I'm drinking the whole thing. I say that right now, but I don't know if I'll actually be able to do it in January if it plays out. So we've got that to look forward to. Palantir 45.50. Okay. I'm just going to tweet that. Palantir 45.50. Cool. Okay. So what else do we have going on? So we talked about Meta, Apple, Google, Microsoft. So to round it up with Microsoft, I don't know what the hell to expect with Microsoft. I don't love Microsoft's valuation at all. I don't love their growth. I think their growth is good. I don't think it's phenomenal. If I had to pick Meta or Microsoft, I'd pick Meta all day. I think Copilot is kind of trash, but I think Copilot is growing. I'm just not excited for Microsoft at all. And, they're also more expensive than Apple on a PE basis. They're growing more than Apple, but it's not like the growth is like, oh my God, we got to buy Microsoft. Now, granted, Microsoft is at the epicenter of AI, and I know there's so many bull theses on Microsoft itself. But if you're buying at 428, I imagine you're looking for, close to 500. That would be like a decent risk to reward here. I don't know if that's coming necessarily soon because I don't see the catalyst for Microsoft. I think they could have good earnings growth. I think they could have good cloud growth, and I think the stock could go up, 5-6%. But the catalyst has not existed for the past couple of quarters, and the catalyst is not Copilot penetration. Now Microsoft's trying to brand themselves as like agents with their Copilot, obviously because agentic workflows are becoming some of the most like important elements of understanding AI. But I think that narrative is going to take time for it to ramp up. GitHub Copilot is going crazy. Microsoft Teams is going crazy in growth. Like they've got, and when I mean going crazy, I mean up like 400 or 500% year over year. So like the numbers are good. It's just not top line revenue growing at upwards of 25-30%, which if they were, Microsoft would be like 550 if they were growing at 25-30%, but they're not. They're going at close to like 14-15%. So I'm just not that excited on Microsoft, kind of indifferent to them. I don't think they'll be super amazing. I don't think they'll be super bad, but I think they'll do decently. Did he talk about Google yet? Yes, I talked about Google. This is the biggest one that I'm looking forward to. I really am curious on if the qualitative analysis on Google being dead will match up to the quantitative numbers that they're going to put up, which are going to be pretty amazing. AMD. I have no clue what's going to happen with AMD. AMD had their investor event the other day, and it was kind of a flop because the chips they introduced weren't that interesting to the market. And like it went from 170, as you can see right here, 175 all the way down to 150. I don't know, dude. It's again, I would rather buy Nvidia over AMD, like 1,000%. Nvidia at 3.5 trillion versus AMD at 252 billion. I'd rather buy Nvidia. It's just like the growth story is there for Nvidia, and the fact that their GPUs are in demand at an insane level, in the words of Jensen, and TSMC earnings kind of highlights and like quantifies how much in demand they are. it just feels like the overvaluation that people talk about in NVIDIA could get continuously overvalued if the growth continues. And by the way, here's a stat that I think a lot of people haven't heard before. Buying NVIDIA right now at a 64x PE is the exact same premium of buying NVIDIA at $15 in 2021. Think of that. If you bought NVIDIA at 15 in 2021, you paid the same premium you're paying today at 141. This is what it means to say stocks can be expensive, but not overvalued. Because NVIDIA at 15, which was, I don't know what it is pre-split, but it's much more than just like $15. But after all the splits, is $15. At a 64 PE would have seemed ridiculous. In fact, a lot of people went short NVIDIA at that time, and those shorts ended up getting destroyed, like life-changing money levels of bankruptcy for people that were shorting NVIDIA, because that 64 PE ended up maintaining itself, but the stock ended up 10xing because NVIDIA's growth ended up going up by 400%. So, Palantir at a 220 PE, obviously expensive, and it's not the same thing as NVIDIA because NVIDIA has shown astronomical growth. But the point is, it can be expensive. It doesn't have to mean it's overvalued. Because if you said it was overvalued at 15 PE at 64 PE in 2021 for NVIDIA at $15, you missed out on a 10x. And it comes down to the qualitative elements of, is this company a good company to be paying this excessive premium for? And NVIDIA turned out to be one of the companies. I think Palantir will turn out to be one of the companies as well. But that's why I'd just rather buy NVIDIA over AMD. But look, not bearish AMD. I just think there's not a catalyst, just like Microsoft, for AMD that's going to be that exciting. Okay, let's do some rapid fire earnings estimates as well and see what we've got going on. So we've got, you can throw some names out there, but I'll give you guys some names as well. PayPal, I think they're going to crush. I think PayPal's absolutely going to crush, and I think their numbers are going to be great. And I think Alex Chriss is going to go on a press run. He's going to do a ton of interviews, and people are going to start to get more excited for PayPal. I think PayPal's in the right situation. We talked about SoFi. I think it'll be good. Coinbase is a wild card. I think their numbers are going to be trash, but if Bitcoin breaks out into that 74, 75,000 range, which it's only 6% away, 7% away from that all-time high, then Coinbase will go higher. So I think their numbers are irrelevant. It's really just about Bitcoin. Meta, I think, will crush. Starbucks, I think actually they kind of already gave their numbers and the market didn't care. It was down 5% for a day and then it came back up. So I think Starbucks will be flat. Roku, I have no idea. Roku, I think I don't know why Kathy still owns almost $1 billion in Roku. Like even if she took that money out and put it into Palantir right now, I think a year from now, she would still do better on Palantir than Roku. So yeah, that one I don't know. Intel's a wild card as well. Lots of acquisition rumors, CEO stepping down stuff. I don't know. I don't think Intel has to fall 20%. It's already down 60% year to date. I definitely don't think Intel has to go up 20%. So I think a 5% move to the upside or downside would be fine. Oh, we didn't talk about Amazon. Carvana will crush. I agree. Carvana will crush because the used car market is ridiculous. The fact that CarMax is willing to give me $15,000 for my Honda Civic that is 5 years old, that I paid $21,000 for. I don't know how. Like, I thought cars depreciate. And if I only got $6,000 of depreciation over 58,000 miles, then I guess the used car market is exploding. So Carvana might end up not being too bad. Did someone say Carvana will crash? Oh, I thought it said crush. I'm sorry. I thought it said crush, not crash. Well, I think they're going to crush. I don't think they're going to crash. I think they'll be decent. Okay, so Amazon. Let's do that. That's our last one. Let's talk about Amazon. So I think Amazon will crush, but the stock might crash because of two reasons. Number one, Bezos is ready to sell, and the market already knows Bezos is ready to sell, so they might not buy in case Bezos is going to sell. Number two, I don't know if their operating margins are going to be what they need to be. And I know a lot of people disagreed with my take last quarter where I said the reason Amazon is down, I think it was down like 7%, is because their operating margins fell quarter over quarter. People were like, oh, well, it's still better than XYZ. I'm like, yeah, but like you can't go from de-accelerating operating margins and expect the street to be happy. Like they're not going to be happy, especially because this is a business that really only makes money from AWS and they do all this other shit and none of it makes any money. But like the shareholders have to have the burden of all this like infrastructure and logistics and none of it prints any money. Like it's just like, what, like, is this a charity here? Like what's going on? Right. So I think the operating margins of 10.8% 2 quarters ago were really exciting to the street. That's what got us to 180. And as that has come down, even though slightly, it was a narrative that wasn't that good. So I think if that number goes back up to maybe 10.2, even 10%, Street will be happy. I think advertising is probably not going to be a miss like it was last time because they had some seasonal things last time. So that'll be fine. And AWS is going to crush as normal. AWS, we're going to have no issues. And then operating income margins on the retail business was 5.2%. If they can get that sucker to 5.4%, maybe even 6-7%, which is asking a lot. But they did a Prime Day, which was their biggest ever in the history of Prime. They sold $14 billion worth of stuff in 2 days. Maybe they got some margin off that, and as a result, that could increase their net income and their EPS. So yeah, I think Amazon is going to crush, but I don't know about the stock anymore, dude. Amazon's one of those things where you buy it and you hold it for the next 5 years, and I think it's closer to 300 in 5 years, but it's a little tough to say that they're definitely going to push this sucker over 200. Like the earnings would have to be amazing, and I don't know if it's going to be amazing. Amazon is the least overpriced of the Mag 7, correct. Google is the most undervalued, just on a pure PE basis. Amazon is the least overpriced out of the Mag 7. Amazon's forward PE right now, 39, which is not crazy. I mean, that's really not crazy for Amazon. Google's is 21, which is just absurd, but Google's struggling with some narrative stuff. So I think that's what we got going on with Amazon. Let me know in the chat if you own Amazon as well. We also have Uber coming up. I think Uber will be okay. I don't think anything too crazy for Uber. MasterCard should be fine. Wendy's should be fine. Roblox, I think it'll be fine. They had that short report come out that the market kind of cared about for 2 seconds and they didn't care about. So I don't know if Hindenburg made money off that, but if they did, then that's fine. If they didn't, then Roblox continues to do well. Reddit, I think, is going to be a sleeper. I think Reddit's going to crush, and I actually think their stock will do very well. So I think Reddit could do well. SiriusXM, Buffett did buy another 30 million shares of this last week, even though he's been selling a crap ton of Bank of America. So one thing to remember about SiriusXM is that Buffett has been loading up, which means maybe he sees a pop coming in SiriusXM as well. And then the oil companies, I don't think they're going to do bad, but oil prices are low, right? So Chevron, Exxon, it's not like oil is going to do amazing because oil is at $68 right now, but it doesn't mean they have to, do horrible. So I think oil companies will stay relatively flat, if not go a little bit lower. Their guidance is going to go lower. It has to go lower, even oil prices are coming down. So, might not be the most opportunistic thing in the earnings cycle that we have, but if they get 5-10% down, oil will be around forever. And so those dips, I think, won't be the worst dips for oil. Apple will plummet. Amazon need more. Let's do okay, I guess I'll just ask you guys, and you guys can put it in the comments, but we have Apple, Amazon, Meta, and Google, and Microsoft this week. Those are the 5 companies. NVIDIA's gone, and NVIDIA's later, Tesla's already gone. I guess gut check on those 5 companies. So let me do mine as a kind of example. So I think Apple flat. Here's what the comment looks like. Amazon down, Google up, Meta up, and then Microsoft flat. That's my. You don't have to do all 5 of these, but if you want to take one of those in the chat, you can do that. That's my prediction. Apple flat, Amazon down, Google up, Meta up, Microsoft flat. I think that's what's going to happen. I'm really confident on the Google going up one because it's undervalued, but it's just the question of is Sundar's gonna have if I was Sundar, bro, okay, if I'm Sundar and the analyst is like, so what do you think of these AI search engines that are trying to take your lunch? I would unleash the gauntlet, bro. I would be like, bro, Perplexity's fucking $9 billion. Are you really I would make the analyst feel bad. I was like, are you really asking me about a startup that's worth $9 billion? I'm worth $2 trillion. And you're talking to me about Perplexity? I'm perplexed that you're even asking me about Perplexity. That's what I would say, bro, on the call. I would make some headlines. And I would try to get them to be like, dude, we're Big Daddy Google, bro. We know everything about you. We control the world. And you're talking about Perplexity? Get the fuck out of here, bro. That's what I would tell this guy. But Sundar doesn't have that energy. Sundar doesn't have that momentum. Sundar doesn't have that dog in him, unfortunately. Great CEO, but he just, I remember last time, or 2 quarters ago, when Google was at 120 and they had the woke Gemini random stuff come out, right? And it was really struggling. They asked them about LLMs. And the gist of the question was like, hey, will LLMs take away search? And like Sundar responded in like 5 seconds. You could tell he didn't want to answer it. And he was just like, we have a growing search business and we're going to keep innovating. And I remember on the earnings call, my jaw dropped. I was like, that was his answer? Like, really? That was his answer? Like, that was the moment where we were supposed to be like, no. We're going to use LLMs. The world's going to adapt to how Google interacts with LLMs. We've been working on this shit since 2017. ChatGPT is like a little fun project. Like, you would have to do whatever you have to do to like really, explain the Google AI thesis. And he did not follow through on that. So this is why they don't let me be a public CEO, because some of the shit I would say on these earnings calls would be a little wild. But nonetheless, I would indeed say that stuff, I would. This is why Carp gets away with a lot more than what we think. Carp gets away with a lot more than what we think, bro. Carp is able to like say shit and people are just like, it's Carp, it's okay. If Sundar or any of these other people said the shit Carp said on these earnings calls, I don't know if they would get away with it as much as Carp does. Palantir is still 45.50 right now. I see you guys saying Palantir up. Yes, those are good predictions as well. Bitcoin is at 67. S&P at 582, Nvidia 142, and then where's Tesla? Tesla 272. Talk about Tesla. If Tesla gets to 300, that's gonna be fun, bro. If Tesla gets to 300, that's gonna be super, super fun. IONQ is on many people's minds. Yeah, so I haven't looked at this one. A lot of people have texted me about this. This is like some quantum computing thing. Again, you can't get all of these. IONQ year to date, it's up 38%. It went up a lot in the past couple of weeks. In the past month, it's up 116%. So I get why people are excited about this one. Apparently, they develop and manufacture quantum computers. I don't know a lot about quantum computers. And so $3 billion company, is it justified? I have no clue. I've got to do some research to kind of figure out if that's at all reasonable. It's not profitable, obviously. But yeah, just don't know much about them yet. But I will be looking into them. What about Coinbase? So we talked about Coinbase, Steppen, and I think Coinbase is going to have crappy numbers on their earnings, but I think Bitcoin going up means it'll be good. Remember, retail is not back to crypto yet. That's the one thing you got to remember. Retail for crypto is not back. You don't see the taxi driver talking about Bitcoin. In fact, there was a video on Uber on TikTok the other day of an Uber driver who was using Kalshi, the CEO that I had on Tuesday. The guy was in the Uber and he was betting on Kalshi. Like there are Uber drivers that are betting on the election on their phones while they're driving versus buying Bitcoin. And in 2021, it was buying Bitcoin on Coinbase. I don't think that momentum is back. And if that momentum's not back, then Coinbase is not going to have amazing transaction volumes. But if Bitcoin goes up, Coinbase will go up. So Coinbase is a great stock to like wheel and to get premiums off of, but you've just got to be able to hold the shares through like 30 to 40% drawdowns and just believe in the long-term thesis of Bitcoin to be able to keep building the position and wheeling it. Because if you're buying it as like a stable stock to like hold on a week-to-week basis and get premiums off of, it's going to be very messy because your covered calls are going to get in the money and then your puts are going to be out of the money. It's like there's going to be so many things going on because the stock moves so crazy. However, it's better to wheel Coinbase, in my opinion, than MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy is just degen central. And if you just want to just like throw money and just hope to God like the alpha on MicroStrategy continues, which logically it will, but the point is you just don't know what is the correct net asset value premium that MicroStrategy should be trading at, because quite frankly, no one knows, which is why the volatility is so exciting for MicroStrategy. Then that's your bet. But Coinbase to me is a much more humbler MicroStrategy that moves with Bitcoin without having this absurd premium to Bitcoin because they're a brokerage, right? And the more Bitcoin does better, the more transaction volumes they get. So I like Coinbase as a wheeling stock over MicroStrategy. The other reason I don't like to wheel MicroStrategy is because you're probably going to get assigned on those puts very easily, just like if Bitcoin is emotional, right? Whereas Coinbase, there's still a business associated with it, even if Bitcoin is super emotional. MicroStrategy, Bitcoin goes down 20%, MicroStrategy is down 50%. Like it's just, I feel like there's no room for being wrong in that place. And you just have to be ready to DCA on it. I mean, any concerns with Carp selling? So I talked about that. For those that are just owning, Carp did sell 1.7 million shares on Friday. Talked about that at like minute 17 of the show. No concerns other than the fact that the dude has a lot of shares and he sees the stock going up a lot. And he's doing what any responsible person would do with risk managing a multi-billion-dollar position, which is trimming. So those are my thoughts on it. The one thing I didn't understand is I didn't know they were allowed to sell a week before earnings. That part I was very like, I didn't know you could do that. I thought it was a quiet period. Corporations are not allowed to buy back any of their stock over the next 2 weeks. By the way, that's another catalyst after the election. After the election, corporations can buy back stock. So starting post November 5th, like they can start buying back stock. And so you're going to get a lot of, money might just end up flowing into the broader markets because you got Google, Amazon, Microsoft doing all their quarterly tasks, which is buying stock. So, yeah, I think that I didn't know insiders could sell a week before earnings, but corporations definitely can't buy before earnings. And so they will be doing that in the next couple of weeks. Oh boy, we got Mr. Wall here. Thank you, Mr. Derek Wall, for 50 gifted memberships. I think a bunch of you just got memberships to the channel. Derek, I appreciate you. I was talking about you, Derek. I said I was on the phone with you today. And what do we got? Endless Awareness got a membership. Kevin got a membership. Real Big Pluto got a membership. Stinger got a membership. A bunch of you guys got memberships. Derek just comes and he's just like, you know what? I'm just going to bless. How many times have you done this, Derek? This is like fucking his 8th time doing the 50 gifted memberships. I appreciate you, bro. It means a lot. Derek is, again, I told you guys, Derek is, well, I haven't updated you guys in a while, but Derek is working on a startup right now. And he's 54, but he doesn't give a fuck. He's just like guns blazing, building what I think is going to be a $20 billion company. I'm just like, and I know I'm biased because I'm his friend, but like, I really think this thing is going to be one of those companies. And it's been really exciting to watch his journey over the past couple of weeks. He's been able to get a lot of things moving in the right direction, whether it comes to co-founders and all this good stuff. So it's going to be really exciting to see what happens. I can't wait till I have an official podcast with Derek and you guys get to like really hear his story, because his story is just one of the coolest stories ever. Made a lot of money, lost all of it, made a lot of money, lost all of it, then came back, made a ton of money. And now he's going for his last hurrah as an entrepreneur. So it's gonna be really cool. It's gonna be really, really cool. And again, I think it's 20 billion. I think it's a 20 billion either IPO or acquisition. That I think it's that big of an idea. And so it'll be really cool to see him execute on the front lines. Can I get that membership on credit? YouTube just picks random people to give the 50 memberships to. I didn't even know how YouTube does it, but I guess it's based on how you comment in the chat, and the more you comment, the more you get it. But a bunch of people just randomly get it. Derek's sporting a mitt on his birthday. Yeah, Derek was actually the first birthday text I got this morning. I woke up at 7:30 and I got a happy birthday from Mr. Wall. Also, you guys got to remember, this was the thing that Derek gave me because he lost a bet with me a couple months ago at this point. It is the beautiful Tesla share at a $183 average physical share, and got a nice little message because he lost a bet. Hey, Amit, go fuck yourself. I thought he was gonna write something inspirational or some shit because you're allowed to like pick a message, and I see this in the mail and I'm like, this motherfucker actually wrote this, but it was hilarious. Dude, Derek, all right, bro, we got it. We got it. Thank you again for another 50. You don't got to do that, bro, but thank you for everyone who didn't get the 50. Boom. You have a chance to get the membership. Sometimes Derek just comes and he just swings his dick around, dude. That's exactly. Sometimes it's just it's like first it's support, and then second it's like, hey, look how big my dick is, and just swings it around. And we got another 50 gifted memberships. Thank you, Derek. Thank you so much for this. You can tell them about my co-founder. Okay, so his co-founder, I don't know how Derek found this guy, but Derek's a business guy. He's building a startup, and his co-founder is a tech guy. And he needed a CTO, like a killer CTO that was just like, if you're building a $20 billion company in the infancy, like you need a CTO that just understands how to do it. And I don't know how the hell he found this guy, but he found this guy. And just the co-founder's resume alone makes me think that both of them together are going to build a very special company, just given the experience they have, the momentum they have, the energy they have. And this is a guy who is like VP of technical infrastructure at some of the biggest public companies that you guys know of. And he's leaving to go build a startup. So it's going to be really, really, really fucking cool to see how they do their thing. The membership entails nothing. It's if you subscribe to YouTube, my channel, it's like $5 a month if you want to be a member. There's no exclusive content. There's nothing. I don't charge for anything. I don't pay for any content. So literally whoever subscribes to the channel or joins as a member, it's just to support the channel. That's it. So if you pay $5 a month, it's to support. If you don't want to pay $5 a month, that's totally fine. But the gifted memberships are like free memberships. So if you got one right now, and 100 of you should have got it, then you guys have a membership to the channel. And that's pretty much it. That's what we got. You get 10 hours of one-on-one advice with Amit each week. Yeah, it's access to my Mayo OnlyFans. Exactly. It's access to my Mayo OnlyFans. Matthew, you can tell them, bro. It's like, okay, I don't want to give too many details. Yes, but it's a guy named Matthew. Derek, what's his last name again? Can you put it in the chat? Let me actually pull up his shit. Oh wait, no, I think I can pull it up. Oh yeah, I got it. I got his. So this is the guy. Let me show it on YouTube. This guy right here is the dude. So you guys can do your own research on this guy. But Matthew Menergic is his CEO, and it is a really interesting guy. He was one of the VP of technical infrastructures at Uber. He's built very, very big companies before. This is the guy right here. And it's just cool, dude. You got two guys that are in their late 40s, early 50s that are like trying to build a very, very big company. And you got the right people to do it. So I'll put this link in the description. You guys can check it out when you want. But that is going to be the co-founder of what I think is going to be a very, very, very big company one day. Can we invest in Derek's startup? Unfortunately not. There's already way too much investor demand that he's getting. I think eventually there might be a way to invest in a startup, but in the first like pre-seed round, there's not going to be any like crowdfunding of capital, but that might happen later into the future. Iman, thank you for the $5 super chat. Hey, Amit, if you had $1,000 and to put into any option this week, what would that be? I wouldn't do any weekly options. I really wouldn't. Not in this market. Unless you're willing to just lose that $1,000, which if you are, maybe some out of the money Google calls, because I think Google's undervalued here before earnings, but I would not do any weekly options in this frothy of a market. Because like now granted, I said that about Tesla, and Tesla, if you did the 230 call, 250 call, you've done very well. But I don't think anyone expected 250 after earnings. Like, did anyone expect 213 to 250? I didn't. I thought best we get is 225, and then it just went to the moon. But I don't know if that could happen with other companies. It's not easy for that to happen. VP engineer, Uber, Google, PayPal, YouTube. Yo, Derek, I'm gonna call you. Just pick up the phone. Let's just talk. You haven't been on the stream for a long time. Everyone spam Derek pick up. So he picks up. So now he feels guilted into picking up. Also, it's my birthday, Derek. You have to pick up. So let me call you and let's get you to give us some talking on the channel. Where's my phone stand? Where's my phone thing? Okay, I don't know where it is. I'm just gonna call you and you better pick up, bro. My phone's also on 4%, so like you have to pick up.
Happy birthday!
You picked up. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Okay, so because we're already talking about your startup, and you haven't been on, last time you were on the channel was like in May, so it's been a while since I had you on via audio. Can you just tell people like what the fuck are you doing? I mean, like with this startup, like why are you building it? What's the point? You don't have to like describe the whole thing, but like, what are you doing right now building a startup?
I mean, I think at my age of 54, my 3 kids are in college, and I sat back and, what are you going to do? Sit on the beach and suck on a Mai Tai? So I decided that I wanted to do another company.
Okay, and how long have you been pontificating the idea for this company?
Well, that's a good question. So remember I went back to school like 8 years ago, and I wrote my thesis on my company HubX, which I launched. And the thesis was that, and I wanted to disrupt B2B. And so when I launched HubX, it was amazing. We did 200 million our first year, 400 million our second year, blah, 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 blah.
Bro, just again, I know you gloss over that, but $400 million in your second year of business is like, people don't know that. People don't really know you, but like, that's a big fucking deal, dude. Like, that's not
Yeah,
easy
it's a
to
big
do.
deal.
That's a
Yeah.
big deal. Okay, continue.
Stop. So we put the company up for sale, and we had like 19 offers from private equity firms, and I don't know if your community knows Vlad. I think he's called in a couple times.
Yeah.
But Vlad and I, we wanted, the exit and the Bs, and some offers weren't there, and so we just said no. We turned on everyone. But from the whole process of just launching the company, we transact in 132 countries, and the feedback from customers, vendors, users, et cetera, was asking for something completely different than what, from an operational standpoint. Our business model was clearly cut from my past 30 years, building e-commerce. And Buy.com turned it into a marketplace, and we had like 70 million customers, and that competed with Amazon back in the day. And so my mindset was based on this technology, which is marketplace, kind of boring. Upload your inventory. We allow manufacturers like Apple or anyone upload their excess inventory to be sold. And so I built this anonymous platform and carded it. Customers check out, they get an order, and they ship it to our distribution center, et cetera. But people were wanting more of a white label. They wanted their own name, their own brand around this platform. And they wanted basically a white label, not a marketplace. And they wanted software, and they wanted software as a service. So I kicked around, and I can't really talk deep about the technology,
Right.
But I kicked around for the last year, just knowing that there was a demand for this idea and concept. And so you remember, it was in March or April, I thought of, and the company's called Stock App. I put my email in chat. If anyone wants to send a resume, please do. We're in need of engineers. We actually received a couple term sheets, and our headquarters is going to be in Palo Alto. So it's going to be really heavy engineering, artificial intelligence, and so forth. But so in April, it kind of came to me, this idea and concept, and the name Stock App. And you can tell people the story on how I bought that domain. It was pretty funny. But so I had this idea. It came to mind in April. The next day or a few days later, I wrote a press release. And the press release was a bunch of bullshit, like literally, like crazy stuff. Like
wildly ambitious dreams, all that stuff.
Like people were in this press release, like, SoftBank, blah, 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 blah. My partner was XYZ. And I always do that when I start a company, because it's kind of like the boilerplate idea, vision, and concept. And I kind of pinpointed everyone I wanted in this deal. And so after I wrote that, I worked on taking everything in my brain and putting it on paper, and literally black and white. And I think you remember, it's just cheesy, funny. But I started calling all my VC friends and said, am I crazy? Is this an idea that's going to work? I called all my close VC friends that I've known for 20 years. I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm always worried about that shiny object syndrome, where an entrepreneur works on something and they jump to the next. And at that time, I moved to Miami 9 years ago to start this tech company, and I wanted to disrupt and continue on my mission to fulfill my thesis at school. And that's why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I feel like, even though I built this massive company, but I'm not done. I feel like, my mission is to complete it. And so over the last 3 months, I went on the road. I went to California back. I was born and raised in Silicon Valley. And so I went back to California. I remember I was in Southern California, Northern California. I went to New York. I went to Austin, and I interviewed 24, 25 people, all the way from the Amazon former CTO to the former CTO at Rakuten, former CTO at Buy.com, former CTO at Office Depot. Just goes on and on and on and on. And I ran into Matthew. He's a former vice president of engineering at Google, YouTube, vice president of engineering at Uber. He's a former CTO at PayPal, eBay.
That's
When they
crazy,
acquired,
dude. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. So I was dating him kind of just like, I went to his house with his kids and I fell in love with them. I needed a smart, brilliant, the guy's IQ is 165. I'm just a scrappy entrepreneur with a hope and a dream and a vision. And I got through to him because he was on my press release with James Burris, the CTO of Intuit. And, through that whole process, I met with SoFi and they're just like, fuck, Derek, this is huge. We haven't seen a deal like this in years. And so the validation came, boom, boom, boom. We have lead investors that are putting money in the deal, and we're basically off to the races now. So
okay, so to summarize all of that, 8 years ago you went back to school, Harvard Business School, to kind of start a company. You start a company called HubX, which, to simplify it, is a B2B marketplace for wholesaling, buying different products, goods. That ended up going from a couple thousand in revenue to a couple $100 million in revenue over the last 5 years. But a lot of the customers in that B2B marketplace wanted something a little bit different, a bit more tech oriented. And so over the past 9 months, you've really been pontificating this idea of what could you do from HubX and turn that into a tech company. And that was the birth of Stock App. It was on a napkin essentially 9 months ago. That's when you called me and you were like, do you think this makes sense? I was like, I think it kind of makes sense. And then over the past 9 months, you got the former VP of engineering at Uber, YouTube, Google, all this shit. You have SoftBank knocking on your door trying to invest. And you guys are pretty close to raising a pre-seed round to build the next billion-dollar company.
Yeah, we got lucky. Someone just said, hey, Derek, buy a Model Y for his birthday. Okay, can I just say something? I fucking tried to give him a Y for free in Miami that I have just sitting here, and he wouldn't take it. He's I don't need a Tesla. And I just see his post yesterday. I'm just going, what a knucklehead.
Okay, so I want to ask you about Tesla in a second, but to put a bow on this startup thing, like, does this kind of feel surreal to you? I mean, I know you've experienced hypergrowth and massive momentum in your life, but this has to feel a little bit like, holy fuck. Like,
no, holy fuck was when I went to Investor Day last week at Figure AI.
You want to talk about that?
Sure.
That was cool. Okay, so for
but no one would believe it in here. Like, we're all Tesla bulls. And
okay, wait, no. So then we have to have this conversation. So remember, you guys on the chat were here when Derek got me into Figure. It was a big deal in February. We did a whole live stream on it. A lot of you guys on the chat probably are still skeptical about Figure, and I can't change your mind. Derek can't change your mind. But Derek was in California at their headquarters last week. I was supposed to go, but I came back from India. I was so dead to do it. What did you see there, Derek, that is making you a little bit bullish?
I signed my life away on NDAs, but I walked into the building in tears. I walked into the building in tears. Two things. One is I invested in this company when it was nothing. It was just an idea on paper. It was a couple people. And to see where it's been in the last over 2 years, just radically was crazy. But more importantly, as a child, growing up, you always thought about the future of robots, right? And flying cars and shit. Now we have driving cars and flying cars. I think Tesla's coming out next year. But I bawled my eyes out just going, wow. One is I made a phenomenal gut-wrenching decision to put millions of dollars into the startup that will return billions and billions. But more importantly, just seeing the future. I think it's pretty amazing. And it just left me speechless. They're so advanced beyond.
Is Brett Adcock Trevor Milton?
Oh fuck no.
So when you see people say that stuff, what is your gut?
No, I mean, listen. I think people have to realize a couple things. Is that we idolize Musk. I do, and I tonight I was speechless on his speech in Madison Square Garden. I mean, I love the guy. Smartest man, probably the smartest engineer that's ever lived, for sure, and probably one of the smartest men that's ever lived. Right? We all know that. And so when he comes up with this conceptual idea around humanoid, we did, right? I mean, saw a guy walk on stage and gave us a little dance. We all laughed. Elon obviously sees the future, right? And I don't think people realize Brett has a lot of characteristics of what Elon has. And people, I think he's more and more of an extrovert, so it comes off this way. And Mark's, I mean, he's running with his passion and to deliver something. But more importantly, over the last 10 years, he's been super successful. Whether people laugh at Archer or not, NASA's bought placed an order for 200. They've already shipped them to American Airlines. It's gonna be the next flying cars for sure. The Archer's the first AA approved for air travel for evil ever. They just got it like a couple months ago. But he did a SPAC, and SPAC's just cheesy and whatever. And when he saw this opportunity, he jumped on it. He literally poured $100 million into Figure himself.
So you're saying people blaming him for Archer don't really understand the full story.
Archer will be massive. I mean, this is not a investment advice, but it will be 10 times bigger than American Airlines.
Wow.
It's the future, right? That's the 50-mile stretch, right? If you live in Orange County, Southern California, you get to LA in 15 minutes, And so that's the future for sure for every metropolitan city, and it's the future. Is it early? Yeah, but I mean, they're making huge strides and growth. Nevertheless, in regards to Brett, him coming to the table with this robot, blah blah blah. It appears, and he's a salesman, and he knows how to raise fucking money, and he's really good. But last week sat with him and going through everything. The guy is brilliant with the most amazing team. Everyone's going there from OpenAI. I mean, Google DeepMinds. They're in the heart of Silicon Valley, close to 200 engineers, and all engineers. The market for humanoids in general, it's the largest TAM ever. It's the largest creation of a device that will ever be created, ever in human history. We're basically replicating our human form, right? There will be more humanoids on the planet than humans. So going to this, I'm betting on Tesla, and I'm betting on Figure, and I'm sure there's going to be many companies. Everyone has to realize it's like in 1999, we had probably 18 search engines, okay, or 17, 18.
Yeah.
And this is uniquely different. Always a couple emerge and stay. But the humanoid market is so massive that the TAM is forever. When I say forever, it's going to take decades and decades and decades and decades, probably 30, 50 years for it to actually even peak. So with respect to Figure, you have Microsoft backing it, you have Amazon backing it, you have NVIDIA backing it, you have OpenAI backing it, and Samsung, LG. I mean, I can go forever. And they have a shot. They have a huge shot. And I'm super excited. The best investment I've ever made will be this. More so than Bitcoin. I've been in Bitcoin since 2010, 11.
But this is what you told me in January when you were kind of giving me the pitch of it, and you were just like, the TAM is massive. And Bitcoin has a massive TAM as well, but Bitcoin depends on inflation and the Fed. This is just like labor. And labor is $80 trillion of GDP. So when it comes,
it's remarkable. And so, yeah. So, I mean, I can understand what people are saying, but I just want everyone to realize that there's many smart people in this world. And I'm lucky to have invested and been able to into Figure. It's exciting because it is the future. They will make it for sure.
Okay, so then let's talk about your thoughts on Tesla.
I mean, Brett talked about this on X, and I'll say it. We raised like $700 million in February. The company will have $700 million at the end of this year because of interest.
Yep.
So they're not burning one fucking penny. He's a genius. So yes, they built 200 engineers and robots basically for fucking free. Um,
And engineers
so-
are expensive, dude. Those types of engineers are not easy.
yeah, I mean,
so.
it's very expensive. Very expensive.
Okay, so then, although you're bullish figure, I'm assuming long-term Tesla, you still feel could be one of the most valuable companies on the planet.
Well, Tesla will be, I think people are discounting NVIDIA and calling it a Cisco. But from when you look underneath the ground and like, humanoids, robotics, and robotics in general is like under the ground. No one really understands it, right? It's so big that it's pushing Microsoft, Google. You have Sam Altman running around trying to raise $7 trillion. Why? Because robotics will run the world, and it's going to need the biggest infrastructure for energy ever. So when you say Tesla, yes, Tesla, I'm an investor in XAI, SpaceX, everything, right? So I'm whatever. But Tesla will undoubtedly be the largest company ever. But there will be massive companies that follow along. Like NVIDIA will be $25 trillion probably in the next 15 years.
It's just
For sure.
Well, because if humanoid robots take off, they're going to need GPUs as well.
Yes,
right? So
yes.
Yeah.
And NVIDIA's doing a great job too. Not too many people realize that NVIDIA's building chips for humanoids.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. And everything's running local too. People think that you need an internet connection, but these systems are just fascinating, where it hosts everything on a device. It's almost like your phone.
So, what is your day-to-day like now that you're running a startup?
I talk to you.
I mean, outside of talking to me, but like
now?
Yeah, like when you wake up in the morning and like you're a startup founder, like what is your day like every day? And you have another company you're still running, HubX. So is it a stressful day to day?
No, it's not. It's not stressful. I think like a week ago when I knew all this was going down, and we received a term sheet, and then now we have all the tier 1 VCs that are like, Derek, what the fuck, and so I'm kind of, this preparing and making the wisest right decisions for our company. And I still own a big company in Miami, and I run my personal investments too. So it's a busy day.
Does it feel fun for the VCs to be chasing after you, or how are you feeling on that experience?
On this one, I've never had it happen, so yeah, it feels good being courted.
Yeah, because usually you've had to fight for it.
Listen, it takes starting companies is like blood, sweat, and tears. I've failed many times in things, right? And I just got lucky in life in general. I started my first company in high school, and it's still sold at Nordstrom's today. But at this stage, your age, you learn from all your mistakes, and you set yourself up with a vision, and you clearly you execute it without questioning yourself, because you already know what the pitfalls could be. And that in the last couple of weeks or the last month, I was flying around and interviewing candidates to be co-founder and CTO, and that's gut wrenching, but you see red flags flying, right? You know how you operate, you know how you are, but then you have to figure out how to feather it into someone else. So at my age of 54, I promised myself like 6 months ago when I was going to do this, is that I would execute, and I would never, what do you call it?
Doubt yourself?
Not doubt. I would never settle. Like settle for anything. So, I decided to raise money for one reason. Because HubX, my partner and I started it bootstrapped, completely with our own money, and we had this massive growth. Our first year we did 219 million, and so just printed money. But when it came down, when I hired bankers to sell our company, we had no accountability. And Vlad will tell you straight up is that we had no board structure, no investors. If you put in 10 grand into HubX, it would have been my fiduciary duty to take $600 million offer or whatever. But I didn't. And so this go around was like, shit, I'm like, I need accountability. I need a parent. I need someone to say yes, no, and push me. And so knowing your faults, that's a fault in mine. I messed up. You kind of feather it around it, and then you interview the right investors that mirror your vision and your ideas to see if they work. And so settling is not just taking money. And I've said no to so many. I want the right money. I don't want money. I want connections. I want a Rolodex. I want vision. I want people with domain experience. I want, someone that believes in it as much as I do. And so when you come up with ideas to execute, you just don't settle. You have your vision and you execute it. And you surround yourself with smarter people. If you're ever the smartest person in the room, you leave.
This is the biggest piece of advice you gave me in February, which is it's a simple sentence, but it's stuck with me. It's not what you know, it's who you know.
And that's a horrible thing to say.
It is
horrible.
Yeah, but it's the truth. It's like, it's really about who the fuck you know in this world that can get you to the next level. B. Williams says this guy sounds like he is 20.
I look like, hopefully I feel like
No, but seriously, dude, your energy,
I'm because I'm from Southern California. I'm a surfer guy, so it's not like I'm a corporate guy.
But dude, this is the fun thing about you. Obviously,
I mean, I go down the street and I'm 54 and I skate in Miami. There's an awesome skateboard park, this big bowl, and I still can get like 3 or 4 feet out of the pipe. Kids are just like, "How old are you?" I'm old.
But you also like taking risks, bro. That's the thing about you. Like,
you can tell people my trading behavior during the day. It's awful.
It's some of the screenshots.
I'm a degenerate.
Yes, I was trying to say it in a more politically correct way, but you're a degenerate.
But 100%.
you
at least I'm self-aware.
That's true. At least you're self-aware. But also the part of that degeneracy comes from you knowing if there is an opportunity, you're not just going to half-ass the opportunity. You're going to really take advantage of it. And given some of the trades you made this year, you have really fucking taken advantage of. You like, go big or go home, right? And it doesn't always work, but when it does, it really does, which is, I think, kind of your philosophy.
Yeah, and this last year and a half, I had a life-changing event. I had that accident, and a year and a half ago, my life changed forever. Yeah. Like, literally. I woke up and I sold everything I had. I had 37 cars, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Bentleys, Rolls Royce. I sold everything. I had all properties, everything.
Well, okay, hold on. I want to ask you about this because a lot of people don't get to hear this part of wealth.
I don't care about it. It's nothing. I'm not gaslighting the.
No. I don't want to ask how you felt buying those things. I want to know your psychology. Why were you buying all that shit? And what did it take for you to realize this is not going to give you happiness?
I lived in multiple places, so I made a home the way I wanted it in multiple places. It's terrible, right?
Yeah.
It's fucked up. Yeah.
And then you need a car for all those places. So it just adds up.
Cars, like, stupid.
Yeah,
I had a polo accident. I fell off my horse in a tournament, and that horse stepped on my head, and I was out for a while in the hospital. And when I came out of it, I realized that the man I became, or the way I was living, and I was disgusted, like violently, like wanted to vomit. Mm-hmm. And I made the decision that, a week later that, I'm going to change my life. I don't care about those things. So.
It's another rule you taught me, which is never buy the Rolex, which is a metaphor.
Never buy a Rolex,
which is a metaphor for if you make money, don't fucking do something stupid.
Ever. Yeah, and that comes down to the whole why question. Yeah. Why didn't I buy you a why for your birthday? I tried to give you one so you don't go buy something. Go sell your car. Of all,
dude, but if you gave me, I would never accept a car. Like, a car is something you have to buy on your own. You don't take that from people. It's one of those things where
don't pay cash. If you're buying one, don't pay cash.
No, I'm not. But it's one of those things. You also, as a man, you want to own your own car. You don't want to get gifted. Like, my dad didn't buy me my first car. I bought my first car by myself. So. Okay. Last question for you. Thank you for joining the show today. I think this would be really helpful for people. I know you're laughing because I'm being all formal.
No, I'm just laughing because I don't even know what these guys are saying. This guy's probably a Trevor on the phone.
No, they love you. They absolutely love. They want to invest in stock. Is there any chance people will be able to, or there's no way?
I mean, so here's the deal. Yes, of course, but you have to be a qualified investor. That's the whole problem with the SEC. It's stupid.
Yeah.
So You have to have like $1 million net worth or make $250,000 a year to be a qualified investor.
Yeah.
And
it's tough.
And that's the only problem.
You know, it's hard to open it up to everybody at that point.
I would totally open it up for sure. Why not? But how you have to do it right, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so my last question to you is, I'm 27. What's your advice to me as I become 27 years old today?
Meet another Derek.
That's a good one. That is a good one. Meet another Derek. It goes
someone
back.
Who cares about you. Someone that sees themselves in you, but more importantly, cares about you. And teaches you.
Yeah.
And puts you in the right places at the right time. Right? You'll make $25 million on Figure. You need those type of people that will live, eat, sleep, drink, and die for your sake.
Yeah.
It's hard to find those type of people in this world.
It's really hard. It's really
just be humble and stay humble. Just keep living at home. Stack that money away.
All right.
Hopefully my kids aren't on here.
No, but it's true, dude. It's hard to like. I told you this morning, but like,
find more mentors. Like, you're doing a phenomenal job. I'm so proud of you. I could get teary thinking about where this last year has just been such a huge windfall for you, and just in so many different things. And you've grown so much, and you've been exposed to so much. And you know that you sitting down, and you at Palantir, I just freak. I was like, what the fuck? And you sitting down with Vlad, and it's just crazy. And then they're just once the snowball goes, it just gets bigger and bigger. So I just stay humble and be you and never cut your hair.
We got it.
I said that and someone blocks me and I got like, what the fuck?
We got to show this tweet. This was great. So Derek had this tweet yesterday about me getting my Model Y, and he ratioed me badly. Yeah, someone blocked him because someone loved me so much on Twitter. They're like, Derek, you're being mean to him. I'm blocking you. And I was like,
no, what do you mean? You're a piece of shit. I hope you die now. like they're like I'm like, oh, bro, you don't know how much I love a bit. Like,
so before blowing money on a car, first splurge on a haircut. And I said, I hate you. Where's the guy who called Ooze? Oh my god, it was so funny. Oh yeah, bro, what a effing loser you are for saying that shitty thing. His hair and his looks are part of his charm. Probably a Democrat who yells at children.
Jesus Christ, you're a Democrat?
I don't know if you're a Democrat. I don't know. We won't talk about politics.
I voted for Trump yesterday.
Oh, well, you brought up politics. So why'd you vote for Trump?
To save America, bud.
It's fair. It's a fair point. Well, instead of forget politics, but like the importance of voting, I think we should end it off on this because this is actually very important.
I mean, I voted. Listen, I don't. This co-founder, he's from Silicon Valley. I don't know if he's Republican or Democrat. But you know what I told him yesterday? I texted him. I said I voted. He doesn't know if I'm a Republican or not or whatever. And I said I voted. He goes, "Why would I vote?" I said, "Millions of people died on your behalf, my behalf, America, for us to vote." Yeah. And it chokes me up. It's really true. I don't care who you vote for. Go vote.
Dude, people literally lost their lives to have Americans be able to pick their own leaders in a democracy.
I don't care if you vote for Kamala. It's whatever your heart's desire, whatever you think is right for you. But it's your right to vote.
Yeah.
This is what makes America America, is our ability to express our vote.
Without that, we got nothing.
And some people take it to the extremes, right?
Yeah. All right, Derek, I appreciate you hopping on the show, man. It means a lot.
Happy birthday, buddy.
Yes, sir.
You are amazing. And on behalf of the hundreds and millions of people that just love you, keep it up. And happy birthday.
I appreciate you. Love you, man.
All right.
Thank you for everything.
Love you too. Take care, guys. Bye.
Bye. All right, folks. We had Derek on the show. That was nice on the birthday stream to have Derek on the show. I appreciate that. That was fun. I've been talking to him all weekend, and he's really working his ass off on this startup, and I think it's gonna be very special. And it's just humbling to see someone at his age just like fucking go for it, again, after going for it already many times and becoming successful. So pretty cool to see. I think that's it for us on the Sunday Future Show. We covered the macro. We covered all the earnings we have this week. We talked about Palantir. We talked about SoFi. Talked about Robinhood, Meta, Amazon, Apple, pretty much all the big companies that are going to be this week. This is going to be a very big week. There's going to be a lot of live streams, so strap in. I know I've been inconsistent for the past couple of weeks, but we are back, and we are back in a big way because we've got market open stream every day, and the market close outside of tomorrow is probably going to be like 3.5 hours every single day for the next 5 days. So we've got a lot to get into, a lot to talk about. I'll be on Twitter every single day, going even deeper into a lot of these companies. But this is a lot, dude. This is a lot. This is a big week. Tomorrow is supposed to be the best day of the year historically since 1950. October 28th is the best. So maybe we're going to get a fun run tomorrow. We'll see what happens. Futures are kind of acting like it already. But it's going to be a big, big day. The only thing is tomorrow's not that big of a day. Tomorrow, I mean, like, you got Forb and you got Waste Management. You got big companies, Transmedics, but Tuesday is really when shit starts. And, then we'll keep going further from there and see what we got to do. ET, thank you for the $10 super chat. Appreciate you, bro. Happy birthday. Keep up the great work. We appreciate it. ET has literally been here since 1980. Is that when the movie came out? Haha, dun-ting. That was the drum thing. No, ET has been here since like 2022 and just been supporting the channel. I appreciate it, bro. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here every single day. All right. That's it. Julie said she moved 3 accounts to Hood. Free money. I love it. I think Robinhood's going to crush on their earnings. It's going to be pretty cool. And it'll be fun. Wednesday is going to be, Wednesday, I have a lot of money in Hood. So Wednesday, I should be really nervous for the results. But part of me is just like, I already know kind of how it's going to go. I don't know if the stock's going to react positive or negative, but I kind of know what the numbers are going to be on earnings. And so I kind of, I have an understanding of how the street will react to it, hopefully. And we'll see what happens from there. The election is the wild card. Anything could happen from the election. But overall, I think they're going to have solid numbers. Then we'll just see kind of how the momentum kicks up. Any birthday plans? No, Michelle. It is 9:57 p.m. I am taking my ass to sleep. I've been waiting to sleep all day. I am fucking tired. And I want to wake up tomorrow like 4:30 a.m. and get back to work and get back on my schedule. So no birthday plans, but it was a chill birthday, bro. Last night I stayed up till 12 a.m. I was just like watching Netflix and I was like, oh, cool. I'm 27. And that was it. That was really it. It was nothing too crazy from there, dude. I do have a lot of messages I have to respond to. So I gotta respond to a lot of people and just like, deal with that. But outside of that, nothing. It's been a fun day. It's been cool. And now we move on to 30s, bro. 28, 29, 30. It'll be crazy when we do the market open while I'm 30, bro. I'm doing the market open while I'm 30. Like, I don't think there's anything that's going to derail this for the next 3 years. Like, I think this, I feel like the momentum's there, the energy is there, the excitement's there. I feel like retail investing is only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger in the stock market. More people are going to care about it. And hopefully there's going to be a need for someone who has exuberant energy every single morning to provide information. Jesse, thank you for the happy birthday. And, hopefully I'll be able to be there for everybody. As Eric says, you can't quit now. That's 100% true, dude. Once you're in the process of it, you just fucking keep going and do what you have to do. You will have your own studio by then. Yeah, hopefully, dude. That's the other thing, dude. My mind is like wrapped around 2025 because I have so many ideas, so many goals that I want to accomplish. And I'm just trying to like get through 2024. Hopefully we have a decent, end of year. And then 2025 get to executing on a lot of different ideas. So, hopefully that'll be fun as well. You said Amit will be on CNBC by 30. I say, here's the thing. If CNBC offered a show, I don't think I would take it, dude, because the freedom that I have just being able to like say something as crazy as I'm about to go liquidate my balls when I thought that meant bladder, but that meant balls. Like, I can't do that on CNBC. Can't do that. I can't be me on CNBC. And even if I could make more money on CNBC, I don't think it's worth it, bro. Like being in that professional studio and stuff like that's just like, it's cool, but doing it yourself is cooler. And then having the freedom to say whatever the hell you want is way cooler. And, having that authentic vibe with the community matters as well. CNBC hosts can't talk to their chat. There's no chat. Like there's just a bunch of people in airports barely watching you as you're on TV. There's nothing special about it, really. I feel like it's kind of barren and empty to an extent. It's just like you get on TV, you say what you want. You never have to really see how other people think about what you're saying, which is the gift and the curse of the chat, right? Because you're like constantly seeing what people think, but you're also just like, you're able to reconcile how people are interpreting your analysis and able to get better from that. But on TV, you just say stuff and then boom, you never have to deal with it. So I don't know. TV, I don't think TV is the route. I think it would be YouTube, and it's just like building it independently. I mean, dude, Joe Rogan and Lex Fridman are bigger than CNBC and Fox and CNN and MSNBC. I mean, like, it's just independent media is exploding. And I think over the next 20 years, we're going to have a renaissance of independent content creators that get to become worth more than CNN and Fox combined, because people want authenticity. The Olin podcast is bigger than pretty much every news network on the planet, in my opinion, just in terms of raw impact. Like, no one trusts the news anchors. People actually trust independent creators. And so that part is very, very important at the end of the day to keep going on. So that is the trajectory that we will keep going. When will you have Alex Carl on your show? I don't know. Alex Carl one day might be on the show, one day might not be on the show, but hopefully one day we can get him. Very important video to end the pod. Okay, so if this is the Marilyn Monroe Happy Birthday, Mr. President, I cannot play that because YouTube's going to find a way to copyright this. So I appreciate it, Matt. That's a great video. I'm not playing that shit because YouTube always finds a way to do what YouTube does. But yes, that is always a nice happy birthday wish. All right, that's it, folks. I'll be back tomorrow. Might be a big morning open. We'll see what happens. Futures are still pretty damn green, and we just got to get through this election, bro. We just got to get through this election, and then we're good to go going into November, December, in my opinion. But we just got to get through Q3 earnings this week, which is the biggest week ever. I mean, after this week, it's pretty much done. We'll still have earnings, but after this week, the market will know if Q3 earnings are good. And then we got to get through the election. The VIX is down 5% right now, bro. VIX futures. VIX futures are down 5%. And you got the S&P up 0.5%. It's a big move in the futures market. Really big move. So we'll be back 8:45 a.m. and we'll see if the market maintains its momentum. What color Model Y? I want to get the white on white. I want to get the white background, white interiors. I want to get white on white. I think it'll look... I already saw it this weekend. I think it looks really nice. It looks like a spaceship. So white on white is the goal for what I want to do. You're going to bring co-hosts, right? Yes, we will have co-hosts throughout the entire week, and definitely going into 2025 as well. All right, that's it. Love you, everybody. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Means the world to me. Let me tell you right here, I would much rather be nowhere else on the planet on my 27th birthday, Sunday, October 27th, 10:02 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, than right here, right now, talking to you guys. And I swear I say that from the bottom of my heart with as much honesty as I can give right now, because the connection that we've created on this channel really means a lot to me. The momentum that we've created on growing the show really means a lot to me, and getting to do this every day, it just means the world. I don't know how else to say it. It just means the fucking, like, to come back on Tuesday and 2,000 people were there in the morning after I took 2 weeks off. You know, that usually that's supposed to create a lot of hiccups in a lot of people's routines, and they forget about you, they don't show up, and then everyone was just there ready to go. I mean, like, you know, it gets me a bit emotional, and it motivates me to want to make this better and better and better and better and better, and keep providing value and keep doing it. There's not a lot of opportunities in life where there's like a moment where you can like really lean into it and you can nurture that moment and allow that moment to expand and grow. And 2024 has been a ever evolving moment that's been expanding and growing, and it's been because of you guys. So just got to keep that going and not stop here and keep the momentum. Okay, we can start with those bricks. The bricks are never leaving. They will be here forever because they're real and you can't detach them. Even though there might be a little rip and a little curl right there, you can't detach them. All right, thank you, everybody. I love you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, 8:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Market Open. We got a big week coming up. Let's see if we can continue momentum. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one. Good night.